Hello.
These people asked for it. They got it.
They definitely did. I'm just making sure our ever lovable chin face is ready.
Yes, and the other thing is we need to make sure that everybody needs to sound off that our audio is within specifications.
Can you lovely people hear us? Oh, look at that. They can.
Wow.
At least one person can.
Okay.
I said yes.
Good.
I'm gonna check in with Chris or Chin Face, and you can see what Chin Face looks like in our Escalade V video.
That's right. If you want to know what Chris looks like, watch the Escalade V video, and then he's also going to be in another Cadillac video. Is this guy just only?
Yeah, he only likes GMs.
Well, he actually was designed by GM's AI division. He's our new GM bot, and it's not technically GM because we could get sued for saying that he's actually designed by GM. But some after-hours engineers that had worked on
who also love nursing homes.
Yep.
All right. So, what do you want to talk about?
Well, so today's live stream is going to be treated like traditional Q&A, of course, because people like that. But I also want to bring up some topics in between, so this can feel more like a podcast that it's actually starting to turn into.
Where we talk to you about nothing for 4 hours. Or in this case, 3 hours, because we are going to do a hard cutoff.
At 10 p.m. Central
CST. Time, yes.
So
CDT, isn't it technically?
No, it's CST right now, and then it goes to CDT and the next time change. It's very confusing.
Perfect. Well, so much for that engineering degree. Anyway, all right.
Nobody cares about time zones. What was the thing I was going to tell you about that? DJ Shrimp Scampy couldn't be here today. He had to pull a double at Red Lobster this week. I mean, nobody wants to work, and I don't get it. The cheddar biscuits are...
And you stood me up for fucking Admiral's Feast instead of going to the track with me where you could spend some time with a pro driver. You were just like, Britt's got too much testosterone for me. I gotta cool down with some lobster.
This guy's like, oh, you want to drive a GR86 on the track? I'm like, yeah, I think I'll just rather go to Red Lobster. So let's get into, before we start that, let's talk about some car stuff.
Okay.
Because that's what people enjoy. And so I got a whole list here.
Oh, wow.
I got a lot to talk about. We did our comparison test, which we somewhat talked about with all the affordable poverty cars. And one of the big questions was, why you didn't include Mazda 3 hatch? And that's something that we are going to cover in the next video comparison that we're doing.
We have a couple comparisons coming that you guys clearly seem to like. We're doing, like everyone in the world is doing this comparison test, but it's Supra and Z with GR86 thrown in there to show you whether or not a modified GR86 can keep up with two cars with real tires. We're putting both the Supra and the Z on real tires.
Yeah, and we're not going to talk about that, but we're trying to neutralize some of this.
Yes.
And you already know that the GR86 is going to be slower. But I mean, it's just a show really between Jack, myself, and Britt Casey, who obviously is a professional driver. We're going to show that and kind of what you expect. And I think some of these comparisons, like people asked, well, what about the lap time board? And to be completely fair, nobody cares about lap times, especially on a track nobody's ever driven on. There's no real benchmark to saying, okay, this car's fast on this track. And truth is that somebody could be fast on this track, and then the car could be faster on another track that's more of a club circuit. The other thing that we found when we did our testing, we had the S2000 GR86, and I can't remember, I think the Elantra N out that day, and it was really cold. Mm-hmm. It was cold and windy, and it was the first time that I'm like, holy shit, these cars, they wasn't just a little bit fast, it was noticeably faster, and the pavement wasn't rubbered in on the other tracks, so we're losing a lot of grip. So this is the point when you see lap times, you can almost take them as a grain of salt unless you have somebody that is taking like 20 cars at once, taking them out in the same day, like within the same hour where the sun is, all that crap. That's the only way lap times are typically accurate. And I used to put a lot more weight on that, and now I put a far less weight on, because it's more about how the car feels, what the car's doing, and what it's not doing that's important. And I think that's going to be more of our focus going forward.
The Mazda 3 thing. So watch our original video on the Mazda 3 all-wheel drive turbo. The car is not a hot hatchback. I don't care what anyone says. It has a torsion beam rear end. When you talk to the Mazda engineers, it was designed as a faux luxury car. Not once did they mention Golf R, GTI, I don't really think the Elantra N. Oh, the Elantra N was
Well, the
around.
Elantra N wasn't even
Veloster N.
Veloster
Yeah,
N,
none of those cars were out back then. Were even benched. It's a luxury car.
Right, yeah. So that's one thing we can put it out here, which we'll probably talk about in the video. But that really changes your perspective. How can you compare it knowing that the car was never designed to be that fun car anymore? Yeah, it's
fast.
It's quick. It's supposed to be like that everyday driver with refinement and a little bit of enjoyment to drive. But you know what? I'll counter that and say when you look at the Integra, the Civics, and all these affordable cars, they've become almost to the point where they're all over refined too. I mean, they're really refined compared to like the old shit boxes we used to love. We're going to be doing a video with the CRX.
Yes.
Like 2 CRXs. And I told Jack, I'm like, when we get this CRX race car on track, I would put money on it that it'll be the best car you've ever driven on the track.
Outside of like the formula cars.
Yeah, outside of like, real race cars, of course. But street cars turn race car. And it's because those cars of the past were just so connected. They talk to you in every way that they possibly can. The byproduct was that car was
that's just a best case scenario.
Yeah,
Scott.
That's true. Yeah, okay.
But Scott building probably one of the most dominant CRXs in existence in racing here in the U.S.
Yeah, but the car was notoriously good. But I'm just saying, like, that's a great example of the like long ago approach of like having connectivity, and that car was actually refined back in the day too. That was like a big step forward. But now we've gone to these new cars where they have to do like they have literally have to do everything. And you're driving, you're like, man, this is great to drive, and you're like, God, am I fucking bored driving this thing, So anyway, it's really hard. It's really hard to explain this to people watching where they can kind of get a good taste for what these things are really like. And lap times, again, back to that point, lap times do not tell you anything about any of that. Like literally.
Well, that's the problem with the internet, though, right? People only care about bench racing. Like you have the GT3 RS that's coming out.
Yeah.
That we will not be at the European launch, but we will be at the US relaunch or whatever of that car, whatever they're doing with that car here in the US. But all anyone seems to care about with that vehicle is how it does around the ring, what ring time it is. And yes, for a car like that, that's important. But what I'm more interested in finding out is how does it sound and how does it improve on the regular GT3. And that's not what anyone's going to be talking about.
Right.
They're just going to talk about the lap time. The same thing goes for the C8 Z06. When they do release a ring time on that, that's all people are going to care about.
Yep, that's true. But I mean, that's how else do normal, like if you don't get to drive all these cars, what's the easiest way you can tell a car is better than another one, right? From a performance car perspective. That's why like Car and Driver and all those were so dominant. Mm-hmm. They focused on all these like static objective measurements. And that's how people got used to judging them. And now like some of the trend is like what car's faster in a drag race, which again is, I guess there's some merit in it in a straight line.
If you just read the spec sheet to find out.
Pretty much. And that's why I said, like, we're going to do the GR86 versus like a Supra. It's like, there's no doubt. You don't even have to you don't even have to read anything to know that the Supra is going to annihilate that car in any condition. The question is it, and that was the S2000 argument. Like the S2000 may be slower, but you're feeling a lot driving it. So even though it's not as fast, you're feeling like you're driving it. You feel like it's faster because it's so engaging. And that's where you can't judge cars subjectively and objectively anymore through any type of measured testing because those lines they're so blurred now.
The other comparison test we will be doing, speaking of Integra, is Integra Mazda 3. I feel like that's a pretty apt one. They're both Japanese pseudo-luxury cars, and we get to actually talk about our ungarnished thoughts now that time has passed on the Integra and revisit the Mazda 3. They are very similarly priced, but the one thing I will bring up is Mazda 3 Turbo all-wheel drive, which is about $35,000 as a hatch, or $36,000, does not come as a manual.
Right, yeah, which this is another topic altogether. Like, what is it with the car manufacturers releasing enthusiast cars and putting manuals on only the top trim? Like, is this like did you get an explanation as to why?
So with ILX, if I understand correctly, I'm sure the comments will correct me if I'm wrong. The ILX, the prior gen, only the poverty trim level, the cheapest model, got the manual, and people were upset. So they're like, "All right, fuck you guys. We'll put it only on the expensive one." I just think from an OEM's perspective, they can't win, and I think they're just assuming that someone who wants to buy an Integra, who's already an enthusiast will just cough up the extra money for the manual. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm sure from a product planning perspective, no one's going to buy that car anyway. Once the original enthusiasts are done buying the manual batches, they'll all go CVT. I'm sure the manufacturing cost of having multiple trim levels with multiple different transmissions, they just don't want to deal with.
And probably, well, right now is different than historically, right? So you have a finite amount of production capacity that you can actually build cars. And where is the margin, right? Like, where are they going to make the most money, of course, on putting that manual transmission somewhere? And how many can they actually build? So dealerships are probably like, just get us cars. So like, okay, well, we can crap out X amount of cars, but trying to put a manual transmission in every trim level at this point is very, very difficult to do. And I understand that with the Z2, they had limited capacity. GR86, that video you just did about the long-term thing with the GR86, there's comments on there like, in Europe, we haven't even had one delivery of that car yet. That's how far behind they are. So I think they're being very cautious about not overspreading, like trying to well, you know what I mean?
I mean, that's the reality of some of these cars that they are putting manual gearboxes in, like the GR Supra. You can fucking forget about trying to get one of those cars.
Yeah, I'm sure it's
the first like year. It'll be impossible.
Yeah, and that's the disappointment of this, I think. And you see doing the video stuff and you get to see comments, you get to talk to people about it. This like enthusiasm has gotten so the enthusiasm for cars is like decaying. It's like a cancer because price obviously is one huge one, right? Huge. It's just really ridiculous. And then the fact that you can't get things, which really puts a damper on it. If you're working hard and you want something and you want it like now is like 6 months for a regular car. That's infuriating. And it just takes the air out of the room for the whole like enthusiast marketplace and cars in general. It's not just enthusiast cars. Like if I wanted to go buy a RAV4, like a RAV4 hybrid, right?
Yeah, you can forget about it there too. Yeah,
I mean, it sucks. I mean, I get it from all sides.
Even from like it's bad for some journalists like us. You know, we're lucky in that some of the OEMs will offer us cars, or not for free, but hey, you do want to buy one of these. Even then, like the GR Corolla, I'm desperately trying to get one to do another long-term series for you guys because I imagine that's a car that people are excited about, and I'm genuinely excited to buy one. They're like, good luck.
Right. Well, and that's the same thing. We had this conversation, and I'm in the process. I don't want to get into the personal side of it, but I'm in the process of going to be moving to a new place in the next like 3 weeks, and you're moving as well. And I'm like, I'm looking at money, I'm looking at the numbers for the year, and I'm looking at how everything is like, you know, I mean, it's just, it's the economy and everything. And like gas prices are a great example. You know, you go from last year to this year, and it was
like maybe 2 something a gallon.
It's over double. It's over double. And then like, I just want to go switch over utilities for this new place. So gas, electric, I don't know, all the other utility shit. But when I got on the phone to switch over gas, I'm like, just out of curiosity, can you tell me the historic prices of previous months? She's like, well, I will tell you all that, but I want to precede it by telling you that the cost for gas has doubled from 0.68 therms or whatever the unit is to it just doubled that, like $1.36 a therm. So the gas bill is literally going to go from $200
to $400,
and then in the winter $800 a month. Just for that, and that's excluding like the expenses of everything else. So you throw all of that in there, and that roundabout way of saying this, Jack wants to get a GR Corolla, and people have been asking, are you going to get a new Civic Type R?
And I told him he should buy one, but at the same time, it's a lot of money.
It's more money, and it's not cheap anymore, right? Like talking about a Civic Si back in the day, $22,000 or $24,000. Yeah, I think I can work that into the budget. When you're talking about like 45, and then when the dealers get a hold of you, 10-1, that thing's going to be 50,000.
Oh, dude, that car is going to be like 60 grand.
Yeah. So it's like and at that point I'm done with it. Like literally I will not even consider it. And like, oh, why would you buy that when you can get a Supra or whatever? It's like, if I wanted a Civic Type R, I can't even get one probably. And that's just that's so frustrating.
Well, Mike H is asking if you're moving to the villages in Florida where you can review golf carts.
Villages? That's in Lady Lake, right?
Yeah, Lady Lake.
Yeah, Lady Lake, and actually, I love the great biscuits and gravy and the nursing home meals that we have there. But Jack, that was one of your least. It has nothing to do with Obsessed Garage. That was his least favorite trip.
You and I have been to a lot of lovely places, and also not lovely places as well. Some parts of California are horrible. That by far is the worst place I've ever spent time. Is Lady Lake.
Really?
That is like my version of outside of like, Gary, Indiana. Of doing a trip for work, that was my least favorite location. South Boston, where TMI was built, I enjoyed more than Lady Lake.
I think some of it, and like I was trying to think about like Jack, because like Lady Lake is it's like every cardboard, like you could look at it and it looks like every other suburb. To be fair to it, it looks like every other suburb. So you go down a street, Applebee's, Chili's, like every chain. It's so cardboard.
But the average age is like 75.
Well, I thought because there were a lot more of an older generation that there'd be more like diversity in terms of like stuff to do. People would be more interested in like, local business. Like all of that stuff was just like crazy amount of just the same thing. And
the traffic was held up by golf carts. I remember.
That's what really pissed you off.
Matt Mormon was kind enough to let me drive the GT3 RS that he has. And then the first thing I get behind after I blow by you guys like an asshole is a golf cart.
Yep. Yeah,
they're like 25 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah, that we just got out of dinner, and wasn't it Bonefish?
Yeah.
And you looked outside the Bonefish window to go to our car, and right across from Bonefish was a Walgreens drive-thru with 2 golf carts lined up to go through the Walgreens to pick up prescriptions. And I'm like, it's so weird. I mean, I get it. I mean, I guess I don't get it, but it's just, I can see why you weren't really that charmed with it.
What other car topics do you want to discuss?
Let me look at my list, Jack.
Before we start answering these people's questions. No, and to be fair, Benny B just said, not that Illinois is great. It is not great here. It is not excellent.
No, this is not about us being in a better place. I mean, I'm just in general.
All right, give me the next topic.
The Toyota Sienna, Jack.
I told you should buy one of those too.
All right, so the story with the Sienna was I got an X7, and I already explained that in a previous video. And I have no regrets about that choice, other than it is a lot of money. And I look at it and I think, what would be the replacement for that? Because there's no way I'm keeping it outside of the 95,000 mile warranty that I have. And I thought, like, okay, what is going to do everything? And the Sienna, because of its fuel economy, not because of anything else. Well, no, I mean, it's completely usable. It's a total appliance on wheels. And now I have one that we're kind of doing some long-term stuff on because I really want to explore what it's like. We're going to Detroit tomorrow to do CRV. Watch the Ottoman 2 just kicked it in the camera.
My bad. Sorry, guys.
So like we're going to Detroit from Illinois tomorrow on a day trip. And just on my like 200 mile drive already, I'm getting almost 40 miles per gallon. Not even trying in a boat that big. And, like there's a lot to be said. And I thought to myself, man, this engine is dog shit. Holy crap, is it slow? And then I realized all I'm doing is sitting in traffic.
So who cares?
Exactly. And I'm not wasting money, and it's completely usable. So I don't know. Like, I think I just love to get back to a place where I just have some ridiculously fun car and then have a total like appliance that wants to suck your soul out.
I think one of the reasons why I don't think you'll mind is I actually really enjoyed our long-term Venza. That thing is an appliance to go to and from Iowa in. Was amazing. It was comfortable. It's quiet. The lane keep assist works all right. Yes, the infotainment of this gen is garbage.
Yeah,
but you just plug in your phone anyway. It's a total. And I didn't give 2 shits about.
Well, yeah. I think that's the other thing too. Driving the Sienna around, like as much as you lose, like pretty much any like.
It's a refrigerator.
It is driving a refrigerator around, but you're so stealth and incognito. People like you roll past people and you just disappear. Like you're like a bot comment in like a
you're an NPC. You are the NPC.
Yeah, you become NPC, which also makes it great because I've been able to do some asshole stuff in that thing.
Can you drive by people and go, "Hey there"?
I mean, nobody's gonna give you
hello.
Nobody's even gonna. Well, actually, okay, I'm gonna tell a story about the Sienna. I took my dad through the Walgreens drive-through, pharmacy drive-through yesterday, and I had an incident with somebody. But before I get into that, wait for this commercial. There's no commercial. I was just saying that because I wanted to delay this story and really drag it out for people to sit here for 3 hours.
I thought you were going to show them the amazing business opportunity that Old Spice and Arby's.
Do that. Do it right now. Go on YouTube and type in Old Spice and go look up their videos. They have a partnership deal with Arby's called what's that?
Something about
The meat sweats.
the meat sweats.
They have a thing where somebody's eating like a triple decker Arby's and you got the meat sweats and you got to get the Old Spice meat sweat edition deodorant. I mean, you want to talk about brand perfection right there. I mean,
are you going to sue them for stealing your idea?
That if I worked there, that's exactly what I would have done. So somebody's genius. I hope that guy's going to get promoted to VP after that, or fired, one or the other.
All right, so tell them your story about how you're
no.
a bad
Let's
person.
let's do some questions first. Then we'll get into more like vlog shit or whatever this is.
So we've been inundated by questions already.
Okay.
I'm going to bring up two upcoming projects, and this will answer one of the questions that someone asked already. Oh my God, Chris, we have a lot of questions. Bear with me. Oh, where does this begin, Chris? Oh God. Oh, perfect. All right, so we have a C6 Z06, which is being lent to us by a viewer, and I think that's happening next week.
Okay.
And we have engineering support from GM. Now that I've broken the seal with GM, I will say I've spent a lot of time with various engineers, and they are actually now my favorite American car brand to deal with from a technical level. They may not necessarily build all my favorite vehicles, but you've now sat through a bunch of the interviews. It's pretty amazing the kind of information they'll give you if you ask. I know that kills you on the inside.
It does pain me, but it is true. At least right now, the stuff that you've been doing, there's people that are actually engaged, and not just engaged from a marketing perspective. They want to talk about why and how they did stuff. Now that's completely different than the end result of how the product is.
Yes.
So I want to make that very clear of, it's great to tell a story from our perspective because it's a new product. We can't really judge it other than, okay, this is how it was.
Like the Lyric and the Escalade V. So the Lyric, the embargo is lifted. Like the Lyric to me, I think the launch versions were $60,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I compare that to the GV60 you just drove. The Lyric has more range. It has a more usable interior. It rides better. I think it's a better car. And I mean, the fact that I'm saying that about a GM EV is, it's double wishbone front and rear, where that thing isn't. Like, it's a better car.
On the surface, I think there's real truth to that. It's hard because, you look at doing this stuff, and you can probably, everybody that's watching this can speak to this based on your own experience with cars or your own experience in life. There are biases, 100%. So how do you get through some of that to just, like in our case, just talk about what something is versus like what you feel about it? You don't like Korean cars, like
most of them I don't. Yeah, no.
Okay,
and other than the Elantra, which is the best front-wheel drive car I've driven.
And I mean, to be fair, like the G80s are really good cars. Some of these cars are really good, but no matter what they do, inherently you're going to have a problem with them. And
this is coming from a Korean person.
Yeah,
too, so.
Yeah. I thought you were.
I'm Singaporean.
This dude changes
I
every
change
time.
my race
like
whenever I need
because
to.
he's playing the Asian card. He's like, I'm going to be every Asian so I can fit in every group. I can't do that. I'm just the stodgy
old white dude.
Yeah, whatever. Won't go into that.
The other project that's coming up, I'm filming Greg's from Chicago Auto Pros 987.2 Cayman S, which means nothing to him, but it's the Cayman that everybody's been asking for.
Just keep throwing out the numbers.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring out my spreadsheet. I'll tell you about.
I need like a decoder ring to figure out all these Porsche numbers that you're always throwing around. I do. Honestly, I have gotten better at it.
Brian Dogs, thank you for the $5.
Thank you, everyone, for that.
Zero GN, thank you for the 20. Hey, guys, supporting as always. I was the guy buying the house who asked what truck to get. Yelsa Tacoma, who owns a 6-speed. Thank you guys for the Arby's update of June. Keep up the good work. Zero, I don't know if you bought the Taco yet, but if you didn't, it's still a great truck. And if you did, congratulations on your purchase.
Congratulations. And then just congratulations when you make $1 million on it in like 10 years.
When you sell
it
more
with
than
500,000 miles on it, and you'll still make.
Captain Goof, thank you for your $10 donation. Imagine you're now a product planner. Please pitch for me a total butchering of an old nameplate. Let me suggest the new Honda C2000 CUV. Its segment busting feature, heated and cooled armrests. Man, I don't think I could pitch one worse than the Eclipse Cross. Like, that one is pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's really hard. That's like, I mean, we've talked about this before, like with the nameplates. I was actually at Portillo's,
Okay.
and they have all this old timey stuff, all these advertisements on the wall, and they had and I can't remember, it was a Ford, it was like Grand Deluxe or some like name, and it was showing the marketing description. It was for the active mother, this car, and it had all the luxury features like mahogany wood trim, mohair carpet, like all like real materials, because there's no like plastic composites. And I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, these are all the names, like, or more popular names that you could reboot into some CUV. But I mean, they're also cookie cutter. You could just basically take any name, and I don't think anybody would care anymore. The only people that care are the people that have like some automotive like knowledge.
Which apparently, like the Blazer is a good example. Everyone fucking hates that thing on the internet.
Yeah,
but
they sell a gajillion.
They
of
sell
them.
a gajillion of them.
Yep. I mean, because the normal person.
The Corvette SUV, which is coming, from my understanding, I hate everything about that product, and I'm sure they're going to sell everyone they make. So I can't pitch to you anything worse than that's already out there.
I don't know. Like some of that too, getting off topic a little bit, is we had that conversation with I think Acura about that, and like the one movie that comes to mind recently was Ghostbusters, not the new one, but the all-female cast one, where people literally buried that movie just from just negative press and like fake reviews and all this shit, just literally buried it. And I think that's different, because cars you could never bury, because the number of people that are enthusiasts about cars are so minute compared to the actual people that buy them. I don't think people even care anymore about rebooting names. They're like, oh, that's a cool name. I have no idea what it is. Anyway.
It's depressing.
Not really. It's just business. You should like that.
Well,
Bullion boy over
Bullion
here.
Boy. Kyle Patton, thank you for your $10. Been waiting a while for the new Tundra. I hope it's worth it. So you're adjusting your pantaloons?
Just like I feel like it's hot as hell in here, but I know it's not. It's just the heat that you're putting off, dude.
Oh, it's your laptop, dude. That
thing is like it's probably
my legs are sweating from being this
really
close. Yeah,
it's probably the stupid, because I don't ever turn this laptop on. It's my backup, and every time I turn it on, of course, Microsoft anti-malware runs in the background, and even when I disable the service, somehow it comes back alive in 5 minutes and runs the CPU at 1,000% for 50 hours.
Kyle, he said he's been waiting for the new Tundra. He hopes it's worth it.
He's got a Tundra on order, I'm assuming.
I assume so.
I mean, there's nothing not to like about it, honestly, compared to the last one.
It's just a question mark of reliability, but it probably will be reliable because it's a Toyota.
I mean, anyway, on the surface, you're going to get it, and if it's working right, you're going to be like, yeah, this is good.
We're closing out the Tundra videos with a Tundra TRD hybrid. We get it next week or the week after. JDM flip-flops, thank you for the $10.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, JDM flip-flops.
You guys have a lot of love for Mazda and Porsche. On the other hand, are there any brands that have made it a royal pain in the ass to either get a press car from or get their engineering support? Yes, lots of brands are a major pain in the ass to do both of those things. We had a discussion without throwing the rep under the bus about a certain American OEM that isn't GM or isn't Dodge.
Stellantis, you mean?
Oh, yeah, Stellantis. That isn't either of those brands. You can
talking about Tesla?
Yeah, I'm talking about Tesla. No, talking about another American brand.
You see what Tesla's doing, by the way? They're looking at people's badge swipes and seeing who's not coming to the office. I don't know if that's true, but if it's true, it's amazing. Like they're actively sending out emails. We noticed you haven't been swiping in. You're not showing up to work when you're supposed to. You're done. That's like the power move. Anyway, go ahead.
Certain brands, they just don't value it, right? And I think some of it's the reps too. Like Drew Carey at Mazda, the head of Mazda PR, is amazing. He really values engineering. The whole Porsche team and a lot of our Toyota reps value the technical side of cars, and they believe that is what should sell their product. They're different than the typical marketing arms. And even, I know you hate GM, but look what they're doing with Z06.
I don't hate GM.
Well, right. You don't hate you don't like not all of GM, but the GM Z06, whoever is running their internal marketing for that, putting out all those little Corvette Academy videos, they're putting the engineers first, which while I agree a lot of the videos are quite dumbed down, they're
making an effort
to prioritize engineering in a mainstream way.
Sometimes that's the most important thing. To go back to actually answering the question, because this is a big one. I had a discussion with Jack about this person specifically, And this person has been around the block, like literally the entire career has been at multiple different companies at multiple levels. This is not somebody that's just like doesn't know what they're doing. So when it comes time to actually approaching this person,
They don't value it. They've been around too long.
It doesn't even factor in. This is just, we are a thorn or we are an obstacle for this person to do their job. It's too much to ask at that place in that person's career, and they do not value us trying to get more information, request conversations with engineers to learn how their products work. They don't, literally, it could be just this person, but it could be the company mentality. They do not care about that. And they flat out said, this is not a good use of our time as providing you this information. Now, that could be loaded. There could be more to it. But when you look at somebody's career, which you can, and see, I've already done everything. I don't need to bend over for this outlet or whoever this is to give you all that information because it's not a good use of my time. And that from our side is really telling about what companies really value trying to get information out there, or those that just all they give a shit about is controlling the narrative and the marketing part. And many companies are that way, and that's how business runs. They don't really need marketing. It's just an exercise for them. We got to do this. Let's get it done and over with. That's all it is. And there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, there's a lot of businesses that are run like that.
And to be fair, we are nothing and nobody in the
automotive space. I mean, we're fully aware of that.
But hopefully that answers your question.
I've been trying to tell Jack that because he takes it personal when he's like trying to do a good job and trying to get information, and he expects companies
Aston Martin's another good example of that.
Yeah. I think you have an expectation that companies care about this stuff as much as you do, and that is just not going to be the case. And you're never going to get your response. You're never going to be happy if you have that expectation of people. I'm telling you right now, you're going to be vastly disappointed.
It's worked with the brands, and I built good relationships with certain brands that, regardless if the reps and I are best friends, I have a lot of respect for them.
Yeah. And that's the counterpoint, right? But you also chase those people that respect what you're doing, that appreciate what you're doing, and trying to go to that, take the next step to get you that information that you're desperately seeking. Because I think a lot of those reps know that it's more work to do what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And they're like, this guy's actually trying. So it elevates their performance and elevates the stuff. And our reps have also learned a lot that they didn't know about their own products just from us digging deeper into some of these questions. And while it might be useless knowledge, I think they do appreciate that there's somebody out there trying to push them. But, it gets exhausting. I think that's the long. It's exhausting.
I'm sure some of the engineers, after some of these questions, or at least the reps, are like, God, I fucking hate this guy.
No, I know. Yeah. We said that before. Like, you know that in the background, they're like, God damn, I don't want to be dealing with these guys again. It's like always 10 times more work than if I just talk to some like influencer who just wants, like a couple pictures.
Walk around with a GoPro.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool stuff. 123. Thank you for your $10 donation. I'm cross-shopping the GR86 Premium and C8 1LT Coupe. I have deposits on each at MSRP, so dealer markup isn't an issue. Is the C8 worth twice the price in this case? If the C8 is it's a better car than the GR86.
Is it objectively worth twice the price? Yes. If you're, and I say this 100 times, all these videos, what are you doing with the car? So if you're going to preface a question, let's just put this out here, because if you want a real answer, you're going to have to preface this by saying, this is what I do with my car. I take it to the track, I hard park it in the garage and wipe it with, a diaper or my girlfriend's like 10-year-old underwear. We need to know like what you're doing with these things so we can help you better understand. Because, the Corvette, and the 86 is most fun when you're actually driving it.
Flat out on the track.
Yes. That's a car that's engaging to drive. But if all you're going to do is park it around and you want speed excites you, that's the wrong car. You know what I mean? So
the C8 is better interior, it rides better, it's faster, it's more sophisticated. It's just more isolated.
It's a snooze to drive fast. It's not a good driver's car it's not a good driver's car as it stands as a stock vehicle. It's set up to understeer like crazy. It's overly safe. It's not really that connected feeling. You have to do a lot to it to make it that way.
It has full alignment capability day one if you get the Z51 package. There are a lot of things you can do to negate some of those issues. And the other question is double the money a big deal to you? If $65,000, whatever the hell it costs, is no real difference to your day in and day life versus a $31,000
Yeah.
E6, get the C8.
Yeah. I mean,
Unless you're just going to go to the track with it.
there's more to say about it, but I think you know where we're coming from.
Dan Smith, thank you for the $20 donation. Hey guys, thanks for the fantastic videos. Quick question: I'm a bigger guy, 6'4", and a larger frame. I'm looking for a luxury compact SUV. Any recommendations under 55,000? And I'm 6 foot, so it's hard for me to visualize.
Think about Mike. Mike doesn't fit in anything at that size. And Mike's even taller, isn't he? He's like 6'5" or something.
Yeah, Mike makes me feel like a little dwarf when I stand next to him.
He doesn't fit in any car. So he's like, man, why don't they make these bigger? I'm like, dude, you're in the 90th percentile of size. So you're on the outside part of what these car designers are looking at. And probably this gentleman as well is going to be on the outside of that. So it's going to be really tough.
Let's just say our favorite luxury SUVs under 55 grand. I'm going to say GV70.
Mm-hmm.
You said compact. GV70, X3. Imagine the X3 will probably fit you. Germans are tall. I'm discounting RDX out of the list now because it's so old.
And that's not big on the inside.
Yeah.
That's not big.
What else do you like?
I like the, but that's probably not going to fit him as the Lexus pile, the RX.
Oh, the RX, but the RX is getting refreshed too.
Yeah, which, I mean, I don't know. That's a 4-popper only now too. I
would look at personally, if you want a luxury compact SUV, X3 or GV70, a Macan isn't under 55 grand.
What else are we missing? There's got to be some other brands there.
GLC I didn't like. That's Mercedes.
Yeah, what other luxury brands are there?
I don't like Lincolns. I mean, the Corsair is fine, but I wouldn't tell you to buy a new Lincoln.
Right. Yeah.
The small Cadillac SUVs are crap.
What about the Dodge piles or the Jeep piles? What are they?
They have no good small ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the small ones are like the
garbage cans.
Yeah.
So you're basically, if you want, and he wants luxury. So
yeah.
Basically, in my mind, the Q5 is small and it's old, but it's a good car. An SQ5 is great.
That's all over. That SQ5 is what, like, that's got to be like 65,000, isn't it?
Yeah, I think around 60. Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah.
Well, the Q5 is great. It's just very vanilla. Yeah, X3, man. Honestly, I mean, I hate to say that, but it's rear wheel drive architecture. It's still 50-50 weight distribution out of an SUV. It's just not luxury kind of to me. It feels very generic.
The GV70 has a nicer interior.
It does, 100%. Let's just leave it at that.
GV70, X3. Take a look at both of those. I think you'll hopefully fit in one of them. But
this guy's just saying Genesis because to make up for the fact that he's really trashing.
They have a Predator drone outside of this house. So they're going to drone strike me in my Escalade as I drive away.
When you see Monday's video or Friday's video, when it's the GV70 or what? GV60, you'll see that it's all shot by me and made by me, aside from Jack making a minimal appearance
in the shop.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Jack calls me. He's like, man, I'm fucking done with this thing. I fucking spent 3 minutes under here. Is that enough?
Sam for $5. I'm competing in a bodybuilding show coming up in 4 weeks. Please have lots of Arby's curly fries and Red Lobster biscuits for me.
Where do you want them sent? I mean, we got, my contract now, my max contract with Red Lobster. I can send you biscuits galore.
2 questions that are not paid that I want to answer that I think are hilarious. One, are we brothers? And I'm going to bring up something that came from the Hawaii trip that will always.
Did you tell this one already?
Maybe.
Oh, you're going to retell it. Sorry.
So we are, now that people have seen, like, the 5 people in the world that have watched our Hawaii video, one of the stops we did was at a basically like a laboratory, essentially, that worked primarily in water.
Laboratory? What are you from?
Laboratory.
What country are you from? That goes into go back to.
Yeah, dude, I'm like 40 countries.
Go back to your planet. No, yeah, sorry.
I'm like Jeff Goldblum, or Girls Are Easy.
Oh yeah.
Man, that was a throwback.
That's throwback to what year?
Probably 80s. 90s?
Earth Girls? No, you're probably
Gina Davis is in that one too.
Maybe it's
all right. Anyway, back to the story. We're at this place.
Earth Girls Are Easy.
For science, and this lady who was trying to show us what you can do with sea salt, water salt, was like, "Are you guys brothers? You guys have the same eyes." And Mark and I are obviously not the same ethnic background and have no we do not share the same parents.
Yeah, but we have the eyes because we both have squinty eyes. So apparently that means that we're
Hey,
brothers.
she didn't see race. I'm gonna give her that.
The late. Oh, that's why you didn't like Lady Lake because somebody said something not even. It's not racist. I guess
Oh,
it's
you
like.
speak really good English.
Yeah, what would you call that? Like,
It was like I don't know. It was.
what would be the
It made me laugh.
no
more
the
than anything.
derogatory term, the phrase.
Condescending.
No, there's a.
You speak really good English.
No, that's like, what do they call that?
Backhanded compliment.
No. What is it when you talk about like a gender or a race and like put stereotypes on them? Somebody's gonna pick it up. Like, like if a movie came out and they had a white person playing it, like what was that movie with Emma Stone? She played.
Oh,
like,
that's my favorite movie ever.
Yeah,
Aloha.
Yeah, she played like an Asian.
It is Bradley Cooper in it, and Emma Stone plays a half Korean lady.
Oh, okay, right.
I'm like,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Anyway, whatever. Like, yeah, Jack came back to the hotel that night. He's like, "You'll never believe what this lady said to me, man. The waterworks are coming. He wanted me to hold them."
It was like Casino Royale. I got in the shower. I was crying, and you came in.
Oh, poor Jack.
All right. Anyway, back to the questions. Oh God. All right. Where the fuck am I in this? I'm sorry, guys. We're trying to tell stories. Nope. Too many questions. All right, Andrew. Thank you for the €5. Any insight to why colors like the recent MDX you reviewed aren't more commonly offered? Here's some petrol money for one of your small U.S. gallons.
Oh, the MDX.
Yeah, why aren't more interesting colors put in press fleets or purchased?
I know. I'm pretty sure I said this on the last live stream about the design. One of the designers or product planners for the old Civic, the Civic that everybody hated when it came out. Like I think the 9th gen. Yeah, I think it was the 9th gen. So it was like super bland, and she fought to get that lime green and then an orange color, and the dealers didn't want it. And it was a huge backlash against her because she went to bat for interesting colors. So none of the dealers wanted it, and they complained up the corporate chain, and then they didn't sell a lot of them. That was the knife in it. And she said afterwards, "I will never do that again in my career. It was just not worth going to bat for those extra colors." And I think that's part of it is
people don't buy them.
People don't buy them in mass and bulk. And just that, again, it's about tying up production to have these one-off colors, and the dealers are a big part. They want the mainstream movers. How can they move the most amount of cars possible? And the mainstream colors will sell way more than the obscure ones.
And it's weird when you meet people who buy mainstream color choices, they say it's because it's eloquent or elegant or sophisticated. Or,
all the adjectives to describe it. But on the counterpoint is like, you look at some of the Audi products, like now it's not paint to sample. It's like you can choose
spectrum colors.
There's spectrum colors you can choose. I think there's like 30 of them. They're outside the box that of course you have to wait for. It takes way longer.
The RS3 gets crazy colors.
Yeah.
And we are doing an RS3 video, and we will be taking it to the track.
Oh boy, I can't wait for that.
No, dude, my tent will be pitched over
No,
some
that'll be
VW
fun.
products.
That'll actually be fun. Anyway, the paint to sample stuff, like where you can choose specialty colors, I think that would be a good way to offset some of the cost. Like if I really wanted a car color, like some of the badass colors that you should be able to choose on cars that you're spending now, like what, $50,000 on a new one, I would wait a couple months to get a special color. I wish they would do that, but they don't have it set up in their manufacturing to do that.
Someone's comment, Dodge, however, does do a good job with colors. All the Chargers and Challengers, like I guess plum crazy, that purple they use is amazing.
One of my friends always comments like, why is it always the shitbox cars that have the cool colors? You see a Chevy Spark in like teal and purple, and like the Renegades have like crazy colors. It's like, it's weird that they do it on like the base, like I
just think it's a Dodge thing. But I will say, I mean, Porsche, if you pay $20,000, you can paint your car however you want.
That's true. Yeah, exactly.
Whoa, what a deal.
Well, no, there's two levels of PTS.
There's PTS, and I think PTS Plus. This is hyper nerdy. I need a spreadsheet up. But if you do PTS, there's a list of colors.
I think it's only 7,000 for the list of colors, and then to do the full blown one where you pick the color, like you could take a paint.
It's 20 grand.
It's 20 grand. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, Ben D gave us $4.20.
$4.20.
Yeah.
Oh, is it 4:20 today? No, it's not. Well, if somebody's watching this after the fact, it could be.
Well, if you watch this next year on 420, Ben D.
Yeah, then you can really celebrate.
Daniel Hellner, thank you for the $10. Is there no room in the kingdom of heaven for automatic transmission enjoyers?
Yeah, there is.
hey, I used to be all down on the auto, and in certain cars, we've said it, like the Elantra N, Kona. Well, the Kona N doesn't come with anything else, but the Veloster N, it's better as a dual clutch.
I will say, like, that's a perfect example. If you're an automatic hater, you go back 5 to 10 years and go drive a Hyundai or Kia, all their automatics, and what do we say to every single one? God, these things are horrible. Or like the CVT piles, like, oh man, I would never get one of these. And then just see the turnaround literally from their first DCTs and like the first gen DCTs that were blowing up and people like, these are horrible, to what they did in the new cars to convert you over to being like, I would rather have the DCT. That's how good it is. That's a huge step forward. And obviously the future cars, we're not even going to be, well, I guess Porsche has a multi-speed EV, but who knows if they're going to do that, like all these car companies.
I think too, like certain vehicles, like the GT3. So we're doing another GT3 video this summer.
Boy,
on the 992. Big shock there, but it'll be more digestible and artsy and fun. And you know, our rep is like, oh, it doesn't matter. I'm like, I don't care what gearbox is in that car. It's amazing.
No, that's a good point. When you literally could not care what gearbox is in the car because the car is so good, the engine, regardless of what it is,
you can't lose with certain cars.
Yeah.
There are still some really shitty automatics out there.
Yes, there are.
But
there are some bad automatics.
If you buy an automatic, you can still go to heaven, Daniel. Stephen Thompson for $5. Thoughts on the previous gen G80 V8? It seems like a great used value in the mid-30s.
Yeah, and I was going to buy a G80 V8. And that engine, like, there wasn't a lot of good. I didn't, to be fair, I didn't know a Hyundai mechanic at that time. So I was really nervous about it. But I think the only thing from my research back then was certain engines had a shitload of oil consumption issues. Like oil consumption was the biggest.
What else would you buy used in that price range? With the luxury SUV.
The V8 pile and the GSF.
The GSF is not 30 grand.
Oh, it's got to be 30 grand.
In the mid-30s.
Oh, God. There's not much. Not with a V8. Like, you'd have to go to, like, old, like, legacy.
Yeah, that's hard to pick. But just say a regular, what would you buy used as a luxury sedan in that price? Did you get a GS or an ES on that price range?
I'd get an ES. I know that's like, boring as hell, but it's so, well, to get a used ES in this generation is going to be impossible for $30,000. So that would lead you back into the old GS with a V6, the previous GS, and then probably an old LS 500. You could probably find an old LS 500 for maybe 40.
Yeah, that thing would be amazing.
Yeah, just a boat. I mean, that's a tough one, man. That's not a lot of money to work with.
If you want luxury.
Yeah.
Purely if you want a luxury car.
Right.
There are a lot of great options in the mid-30s.
Oh, yeah. You
could always buy a used 5 Series with a long-ass warranty.
Yeah, that's true. You'd have to, I think, so people ask this a lot. I've seen a lot of questions like, what extended warranty would you buy? And I've had to do a lot of research because I was doing this when I bought the X7 used, because BMW doesn't do their own aftermarket warranties. So one of the best aftermarket warranties is Fidelity right now. So if you're looking to get a used car and you're looking for an aftermarket warranty, Fidelity is really safe and they're fair if you sell the car and you get your money back and all that. So that's just a tip for you.
All right, back to the questions. And this one made me smile earlier. Robert Patrick has assured that you can get girl drunk. Have yourself a round of chocolate choo-choos on me. I currently have decently optioned 718S, no LSD or PTV, but I enjoy driving it. Is a GTS 4-liter really worth the upgrade? I'd see track days and road trips. It would see track days and road trips. Absolutely. The 4-liter is amazing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. It's a special car. I mean, it's not the old, it's not GT4 RS, but the 4-liter, I mean, it's got its roots that they're all have similarities to it. So that's a no-brainer.
If you're going from the 4-popper to the flat 6, and you don't care that you're going to have
pay a lot of money,
absolutely worth the money. Get it as a manual too. That's a car, I think.
Yeah, it's not
fast enough to need a PDK.
And the PDK and the non GT products are slightly different the way that they're tuned. They're not as juicy. I'll just put it that way.
Gregory Ames, no Arby's. Oh, thank you, Gregory, for the $5. No Arby's tonight. Thoughts on the Audi e-tron? Well, we're getting an e-tron press car, so you can feel free to wait for that, I guess. In the market for a family hauler, hate the Model Y. Waiting to see a Polestar 3 price/range.
Yeah, I've after seeing all the Volvo stuff, it's like I'm really pulling for them to fix their cars with the EV part of it, but it's so hard because it's not like they're gonna take probably 2 more generations to get EVs that are just like amazing. And they're close now, but I'm looking forward to seeing their cars in 2030. Let's just put it that way.
I'm going to answer about 6 more questions, then tell your story, then I'll go back to answering
All right,
questions. Does that work for
sounds
you?
good. Yeah.
Motive Engineering for $2. Still planning on a C6 Z06 video. If you're tuning in, I have spoken to the small block team who designed the LS7, and we are getting a C6 Z06 2009 next week from a very, very kind viewer named Dan.
Can you explain a little bit like about your call, just so people understand?
Yeah. So I had a call with probably 5 or 6 senior members of the GM small block team. So the way GM works, obviously, you have your individual engineering teams for different products. Then you have your product line engineers as well, chief engineers, blah, blah, blah. I spoke to some of the gentlemen who have worked for GM for like 30 years. And this specific team designed the LS7 and the new LT6. They've worked on basically every iteration of V8 you can think of in the last 20 years. There were 5 of them. It was a pretty just normal conversation where they let me ask some difficult questions about lifters and all that other nonsense and valve train issues, but as well they explained what their process was to design the LS7, what the leadership wanted, what the Corvette team wanted, and they walked through why they love that motor so much still.
And what was your impression of talking to them? Like, did you feel that they were still passionate, that they wanted to talk about it after this long?
It's a corny phrase, but I think after meeting more and more GM engineers, and I'm going to say this about GM here in a second next too, but they said that they basically do the sports car stuff for free.
Right? Oh, really? That's what it is?
That's how they treat their job. So like they know they're there to design V8s for Tahoe and Silverado and all other nonsense, but they'll work on the sports car products like the LS7 after hours because they want to
because that's like what they're passionate about. Yeah. They're not just doing like a cookie cutter,
the motor's badass. If you've ever heard an LS7 as you're about to drive one, and I will too, I'm really excited because that motor, I don't think a lot of GM V8s have a lot of character. That motor has a ton of character.
I'll be interested to drive it. I say this all the time. Like, I don't really get excited until I'm actually driving it. And you'll catch me like caught off guard where I'm like, oh my God, this is actually amazing. And it's pretty genuine.
Bradley Berry, thank you so much for the $50.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody who's donating to ask a question.
And I'm really trying to answer regular questions as well. Bradley said, I just wanted to say thank you guys for the amazing content. You guys are hands down the best review channel out there. Well, thank you. Bernie Mac for $5. It's nice to see that you're back from the dead.
Yeah. Thanks, Bernie.
No question. Just one event that I absolutely hate: the Amazon Alexa commercial for the Buick Enclave. Thanks, guys. That'll lead me back to my GM thing. So GM has 3 divisions in my mind that I've spoken to, or three levels of teams. You have the truck team, which have unlimited resources and unlimited money, and trucks are hard to debate whether they're good or not because everybody has their own opinions. It's like religions. You have the sports car team who make things like the ZL1, the Corvette, and like the Blackwing. Those guys make amazing cars. And then you have the shitbox GM products like the Trax, the Encores of the world.
It's like the B team stuff.
The B team stuff. That's Blazer, Equinox, all that crap. That's one of those products, the Encore.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I think doing this more, you have
Enclave, sorry.
I wouldn't say a better respect, but you understand that, like, okay, you're not going to put your senior level people on cars that are just like, they shit out, right? They're just trying to fill that hole. And I was talking about this with BMW. Like, why do you have an X 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9? And it's like they're literally just trying to plug holes so they have that in between. Well, our customers want this, we don't have it, so we got to fill the gap. And I'm like, how is that cost effective? But it's also a way for engineers to cut their teeth on like products that are far less important.
Yep.
So the young workforce can come in, screw that up, and then actually work on a product that matters. So some of it is that too.
All right. 2 more, and then we'll tell your story.
Okay. Real stories.
Anon for $10. Thank you. Some of the Elantra N models are broken from the dealership, missing a pedal.
Huh?
With time, the 6-speed will be more sought after than the DCT. Enjoy your automatic, suckers. You're probably not wrong. Your Elantra as a manual will be worth more money.
That's the reality of manual cars in general. I mean, so you just don't get me wrong. I don't want to shit on the automatic stuff because certain people cannot drive manual. That's totally fine. My point is that automatics have gotten so good that in some cases, like, you really can still get that much enjoyment. It's not a dirty word. However, because there's so little manuals and so it's harder to find them in terms of a long-term investment, if you can drive a manual, you're almost better off doing that, because when you go to flip it, I mean, you're certain cars, of course, it's going to be gone. You're going to have like 10 offers on it in 2 days. Like, oh my God, I can't find this, as long as you take good care of it. It's always going to be easy to sell.
That's the truth, right? Like C7s are a good example. I keep looking at prices because I don't know what to do with my car. If I get what I'm trying to get. The automatics are worthless in comparison to the manual.
Yeah.
Old Porsches are that way. No one wants a manual. I mean, a PDK, not nobody, but less people want the manual GT car. I mean, the automatic GT cars. Torledge, thank you for your $5.
Thank yous.
Morgan S, thank you for your $50.
Oh, what are we doing here?
He's asking about the Chevy Spark, Mark.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, for $50, he's asking about the Chevy Spark.
Don't worry, I'm ready mentally for this one.
Would you guys consider reviewing a Chevy Spark, the cheapest new car in the U.S.? Doesn't seem to be a total pile, and it's getting discontinued in August.
The chances of us actually getting a Spark from GM, why they would even spend the money, the $600+ to have it loaned out when they're killing it off. I mean, I honestly, a friend wanted to get one. I did a test drive in one of them, and I was biting my tongue the whole time I was in it. And by the end of the test drive, I'm like, it wasn't as bad.
How cheap is it?
Well, what they wanted to sell it for was like $25,000. They were like trying to mark it up.
What?
Yeah, because there was hard to find at that time. There wasn't a lot of them. But I mean, I think the base price is, don't quote me, but somewhere around like 16.
That's a good deal.
I think
16 grand for a new car.
16 to 18, probably, whatever. I don't know. I could be totally wrong, but I know it's cheap. And it really, other than knowing that it was like kind of a shit box and you remove yourself of it, it was actually good to drive. It was not bad to drive. It's not Mini Cooper. Like, you get in a Mini Cooper, you're like, holy shit, this thing's way better for like a micro car. But I don't know, if you're on a tight budget and you need a small car, not the end of the world.
Someone says it's starting $13,600.
Okay, so by the time you probably get one optioned with a couple things, it's like 14 or 15 grand.
They wanted 25 grand.
Yeah, because that was like a weird color combination, and like there was none in like a 400-mile range, like a geography.
What a deal! All right, last one before your story.
That's dealerships, man.
Forgetful Foot for $5. Thank you. Can't wait to see you guys do a 987 or 987.2 Cayman Boxster video. Well, as I mentioned earlier, we are doing one. All right, Mark, tell your story.
So I wanted to go off the beaten path a little bit, Jack.
All right, tell me about it.
Because I think about these live streams, and people come here to watch and listen to us about car stuff. But after a while, you get a little bit tone deaf about things that are going on.
Keep talking. I'm gonna grab my bottle.
Yeah, this guy's talking out on this one.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave.
I kind of wanted to say this as like a positive thing, because I think, at least in the United States, and a lot of people like message us like, what the fuck's going on with your country and all that. And I don't want to get into any of the politics of it. But I think there's a lot of people that are not doing well right now with everything going on. And I see things on both. I try to, like, it's part of doing these videos, right? You have to connect with a lot of people. I can't just go out and trash something because somebody might actually really like that. And it's hard to balance that. So you have to watch and be, it's not just careful. It's appreciate the fact that other people do not share the same mindset or feelings as you do. So it's kind of trying to understand both sides, and it makes you better at talking about things and understanding. So I saw something recently that somebody had sent me on Instagram DMs, and it was like a personal question, like, what do you think about it? And I think I talked to you about this. It was Donald Trump Jr. talking about, like, all he does is post memes on his Instagram profile, and I've never seen it before, but it was all like basically baiting, like teasing the monkeys. Mm-hmm. I thought, with this much power, why would you want to like make people feel even more uncomfortable, even though if you didn't do it? And that very night, it was just on Hulu. Chelsea Handler took over, what's his name, Jimmy Kimmel show. Holy shit! It was just the opposite. It was like taking a piss on the other side, like these two polar extremes, people that have huge voices, like you're talking to millions of people, and all you want to do is put a wedge between people. And it made me think about like, how could you do this better? Like, how do you find a middle ground where you're not just pissing people off all the time, trying to bring people together more? And like, it made me think about my own self, like the shit I did when I was younger. Like, I didn't give a fuck. I didn't think about that. The fact that you could say something and it could really bother people or hurt people's feelings, and you divide like the group, and it's like an inner circle of fighting, and that's what the internet's become. And I don't know if it's age, but I thought about what we're doing. How do you, even though this is cars, I mean, cars and technology, it's like the seemingly most meaningless thing, but there's clearly people here. There's people that are interested in not only car opinions, but other stuff. There's companies we work with who value and respect some of your opinions. How do you get everybody together where you're like trying to learn from them, learn your stories, hear your side of shit, while also trying to balance out our side and not be hyper biased and bring people together? And I wish there was, and again, it goes back to these questions that I get.
People are looking for community. I think,
yeah.
A lot of people find community. There was a interview that I listened to recently. There's a guy, he works for the Daily Show. I forget what was the comedian's name. He was talking about going to all these like very far right like rallies for our former president. And one of the things he said, regardless if I agree with him or not, and I'm not trying to get political on this, but these people are looking for community, just like people on the far left look for community. And hopefully by doing car stuff or technology, people can find a community in a more constructive way versus, you can be on either political spectrum and like cars or technology, and that'll be your common ground. Because if you find common ground with someone, you're more likely to hopefully view them as a human being versus just as something else.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at, is there's a level of humanity that I feel like is being lost right now and all this shit. And even people with a lot of power and a lot of like influence, and there's some really, really insanely smart people, and I know you know this, and it's whether you agree or disagree. I think certain people that have this power don't know the actual effect or the power they wield, and they don't know when to shut their mouth. Like literally don't know when they've crossed the line where not only are they alienating other people, but they're also like hurting them, like hurting everybody that's in this community by like driving a wedge. And I need personally, that's what this is about. I want to try to do a better job of being more accessible to teach people, and not like make it like not shit posting or shitting all over somebody because I don't agree with it. And I've done a bad job with certain cars and certain topics that we discover, and I don't want it to come across like I don't care. Like I'm not a pretentious person. I do expect the level of quality. Of course, I have high expectations that people actually do the work and put the effort in with a lot of this stuff. But I don't want to be like being divisive.
I will bring up, I like how there's a nice like angle of just of our crotches in this.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's huge. Dude. It's huge. And part of this is just like trying to.
We got to get more sponsors.
This whole pitch is to get more. Really, what my point was is I need sponsorship money to get inflated down there, and I need to turn back the clock 20 years so I can connect with the new demographic that I'm losing out by aging out, Jack. That's what this really was about.
See, okay, good. I mean, I've been working hard on our Rogaine sponsorship, so.
So the question is then game of this conversation is, how do you do stuff, and even in your own lives, how do you connect, like either at work or relationships? How do you hear and listen to alternating opinions? And the automatic transmission versus manual one is a really good debate, because there's a lot of people that like hate this discussion because it's like pitting two groups of enthusiasts against each other, because the manual crowd, like the save the manuals thing, gets real pretentious about, oh God, if you drive an automatic, you're a piece of shit. Or that line from The Boys. Did you see that? The guy's like, did your stupid brain fuck the idiot, or did your idiot brain fuck the stupid part of it, or something like just derogatory? That's what people hear when you talk about automatics in a bad way. So like, how do you do a better job of like trying to
just don't
to
speak
connect.
down to people about it.
Or just don't talk about it.
Yeah,
And ignore it and
yeah.
get back to the car questions.
Perfect. All right, let's
All
go back to the car questions, Mark. Oh crap! We're all right. Perfect. Murgledew for $10. Thank you, Murgledew. I am trading in my Lexus, and it's been difficult. No one has cars to test drive. Gut feeling on these as a daily driver: GR86, MX-5, Civic hatch.
I don't know.
Sorry, coupe.
Civic Coupe?
No, there isn't a coupe. Oh. Anyway, of these cars, the GR86, Civic hatch, and MX-5, what would you buy as a daily driver? What are your thoughts?
MX-5.
As a daily?
Isn't that the answer to everything?
Well, no, it's not in this car.
Yeah, oh, come on. That's what everybody says.
MX-5 is the most fun. GR86 is in between. The Civic is the least exciting, but the most usable.
But what if you can't test drive it? How do you make that decision? Isn't
He's
that
asking us.
Yeah, okay.
Do you agree with that? The Civic is the most usable, but probably the least fun.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
MX-5 is the best street car.
If you need an everyday car, then I would just go right to the GR86.
Or the Civic.
And good luck finding one.
Yeah, it's vaporware at this point.
It's 4/20 today, by the way. It's April 20th. So the date. Anyway, if you're watching this in relation to the current time frame we're in, yeah, I'm sorry, it sucks. But yeah, the GR86 is going to give you the most fun for usability.
Bromated vegetable oil for $20. That's an amazing name.
I'm surprised that's not copyrighted.
Thank you, gentlemen, for bringing sexy back to YouTube car reviews.
Oh, God.
Always happy to support. Any news or rumblings on Subaru having a solution coming to their supply issues? Nope.
No, man, that's not happening anytime soon. I think everything that we've heard now from manufacturers is
it's like end of next year.
Yeah, middle of 2023 for it to normalize. That's assuming nothing else happens.
Signori, thank you for the $10. Sagan, thank you for the $10. Lucia de la Malta, thank you for the 10 Canadian dollars. Does it make sense to sell a GT350 in the current market, or would you guys hold on to it longer? She's my baby, but I'm injured and can rarely drive her anymore.
Oh, that's tough.
If you have an emotional connection in the car, then don't sell it.
I mean, unless you can't get back into it and drive it again. I mean, if it's a permanent problem that you're not going to be able to enjoy it anymore, that's a hard thing to tell somebody to keep it, because it's also a reminder in the garage. Oh, hey, fuck you, buddy, you can't drive me.
If you can drive it again one day and it's within a reasonable time frame of a couple months, keep it. The problem if you sell it is, what are you going to buy?
Yeah, that's the biggest problem right now, right? I mean, you can get rid of something, but it's like the housing thing too. You could sell something right now. You could sell your house and make a ton of money, and they're like, oh shit, now I'm going to get bent over on the next one. So it's kind of like, the longer you can hold out and see if you can drive it, I would keep that car too.
Louis, thank you for the $5. Hello from Schaumburg. This is my favorite channel. What happened to Turbowski? Thanks, guys.
So Turbowski is still working. As far as I know, he's working as a mechanic. I have been in recent communication with him, mostly on text, and it's, that's about it, honestly. I mean, he's got
busy.
Yeah, he's got his life. I got my own, and he's got his job, and this has become a job that I think somebody was asking about this before, and I think I told him on Patreon. Like, the reality is Scott, his mentality of cars and his interest in cars has died off a lot. He does not like a lot of the direction that the stuff has gone. Don't blame him at all. I mean, honestly, it's hard.
There's no interest in it.
It's no interest, and it's hard to get excited about stuff that all you do is work on it. And then you see the future of like, oh my God, if I'm going to be doing this job in 10 years, I can't wait to deal with the next shit. So if I bring a new car and he's not interested in it, and I'm making a lot of excuses. Long story short is, Scott and I, how we started this and how this evolved isn't the same way that we started it, and that's just it. But everything, as far as I know, everything's going good with Scott.
Scenery, thank you for the $5. Chick 3N564 gave us $5.69. Here's 1 gallon of gas from Northern Virginia. Thank you, sir.
What's that going to get us? Will that get us a gallon?
I think they'll get us a gallon out here.
Yeah, what's premium now?
I just
$639
put regular in the pile that I'm driving right
in your
now.
Ferrari.
Yeah, my Ferrari. I was like, I can't afford it.
You put leaded.
Yeah, I put it in my
Mhm.
F8
Yeah.
Tributo. I went to Walmart and got regular.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
I think it's like a little over 5 something for regular out here.
5?
It's like 550.
Oh, that's right. I thought you were saying premium's
No,
5.
premium's like over 6, I think.
Oh my god, it's that much? Oh, yeah, 6. That's what I was thinking. Okay, 6. It's 6 like 50 for premium, and then Woodman's was $5 for regular.
Hazel Green, thank you for the $20. Jordan Estevo for $5. OG N55 M2 sports car. Yes or no? You never drove the original M2, did you? You only drove the comp.
Yeah, I didn't drive the original M2. The first one was the comp. I might have driven it at the Mama event. They might have had an M2 out there.
It's a good car, man. S2
Fast.
S2 Fast. I always call them S2K Fast.
Well, I mean,
I got it right this time.
Yeah, that's
S2
right.
Fast had one. It got totaled recently.
Did he had? Oh no, it was just the one car. I'm thinking of somebody else.
No, he had a CTR that
Oh,
survived
that's right.
like
He got
3
2 cars.
days.
This guy's like, he's just trying to get out of these cars and file an
Yeah,
insurance
he purposely
claims.
street parks them or something. No,
Yeah, he parks them in the middle of a highway. Like, oh man, this
What
guy can't
happened?
believe this guy T-boned me.
No, yeah, that poor bastard. He bought a CTR. I think he had it for a couple weeks, and I think he got
I'm
rear-ended.
surprised he got a CTR.
Yeah. Anyway, he loved it, and
Yeah, we're talking about a guy that nobody knows who the hell we're talking about.
Thomas from
Yeah, Throttle House.
yeah, he has one as well, and he loves it allegedly.
So people were asking about what you think of Throttle House
They're I talk to James somewhat regularly.
at like 3 a.m.
Yeah, 3 a.m.
on the
I'm
toilet.
like, send me pics of your shins.
Okay.
Karsten is extraordinarily talented. Given like how quickly he has to film some of this shit, I'm really impressed by them. They seem like nice guys. What are your opinions? You hate them?
Oh, well, considering my boneheaded conversation earlier, I'm going to drive a wedge. These guys are pieces of shit. Don't come to America. Okay.
Too many
Not
Canadians
in my
in this
country.
country.
You're going to bring all your talent here. I'll show you talent.
Han W for $5. Hey guys, what are your thoughts on motorcycles as a hobby? I recently got a Yamaha XSR.
A Yamaha?
Yamaha.
Oh, yeah.
Yamaha XSR 700 and absolutely loving it. I love bikes.
God, is that the bot answer?
Yeah.
Hey, I love bikes.
I love bikes. I used
Hey,
to be
man.
an adventurer
Here, let me
until I
check
took
your-
an arrow
let-
in the knee.
Let me check your code real quick. Okay, I just
No,
adjusted
I
it.
love
Can you-
motorcycles. I've had like four bikes. I still have my Street Triple R. I love bikes. It's just out here, I'm going to get run over by somebody,
Mhm.
and there's nowhere to ride. Unless
Yep.
you want to ride in a straight line.
There are a lot of NPCs out here. A lot of NPCs. Yeah, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to recover my conversation that I kind of botched earlier. I didn't have a full thought. So that conversation about the Sienna that I started talking about,
yes.
I came out of the drive-thru at Walgreens with my dad, and it's just one way out. You know, like all you can do is go forward, and then it cuts over to like a stop sign, and I'm like, go to the right, and there's a car coming the other way. So we're like this, and then there's a guy behind this guy in my lane right in front of me. So I'm like, I stopped there because clearly this guy doesn't understand that it's a 2-lane road. And he looks at me and pulls up and rolls down his window and is swearing at me. He literally is going off the deep end at me because he thought I was going the wrong way, even though I just came out of the drive-thru, which there's a sign there for that. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy is completely irate. I mean, he's at a 10.
Mm-hmm.
He's at a 10 and he's in the wrong and he doesn't even know it. I'm sitting there thinking, my first reaction was like I was actually in an okay mood, but if I was at the wrong place and time, I probably would have created a provocative situation like Sean Connery. And I thought to myself, I'm like, why is this guy getting so amped up when he's so wrong? And I'm like, I guess some part of me wanted to escalate that. I really wanted to roll down the window and be like, just go off. And I'm like, my dad's in the car. I'm
It's
like,
because you were driving a minivan. You
maybe-
watched Unhinged.
yeah, that's true.
You were in a Sienna like Russell Crowe.
I mean, I don't think it would. I thought like 100%
sure it's-
because I was in a minivan, this guy would have just been like, okay, this guy's got no life. I'm not even going to yell at him. And there was something else that happened right after that. It's the instantaneous anger of people on the road, even when they're in not like it's questionable that they shouldn't be angry about it. But why is like always the first reaction anger? Like, I mean,
I think it's just a base human reaction. When people get scared or they get bothered in any way, they go to a 10 for no fucking reason.
did we talk about, I know I brought it up last time, this last video about cart narcs. Okay, so Greg, my buddy Greg, he posted on one of our chat things about cart narcs, and it's this dude who goes in parking lots and looks for people that left their cart. Just look it up on YouTube if you haven't seen it. This dude goes to parking lots with like a wand and like a vest, and he looks for people that literally do not put their carts back in the cart corral, or whatever you want to call it, the cart storage. Leave it right next to their car because they're so lazy, and then he calls them out on the fact that they left their cart out. And I mean, obviously, he only posts the most, ridiculous ones where people go off on him. But it's unbelievable to me that you could go through all these videos and see how angry people get.
One of the comments said someone, one of the videos, he got a gun pulled on him.
I didn't see that one.
I know nothing about what you're talking about.
Okay,
but
the immediate reaction is, yes, he's poking the bear, which I get, right? That's the only way he'd have views on the internet if he was poking the bear. But the fundamental principle is, if you're approached by somebody in a parking lot that says, hey, can you return your cart? I'm going to put a magnet on your car saying that you're a lazy bones. He calls people lazy bones. It's stupid. And it's like he's trying to tell them, by you leaving the cart here, somebody can't park here, or you can damage somebody else's property. That's the overwhelming thing, other than telling people they're lazy for not returning the carts. And these people, they do not understand, like they literally cannot process that thought of, a lot of the excuses are, I pay to shop here, they should move the cart for me.
I was talking to Alex, my buddy Alex, about this, and it had nothing to do with cart narcs, but he was saying like one of the societal tests that you're a good person or not is you put away your shopping cart, because you aren't incentivized to put back your shopping cart,
Right.
but you're doing it to be just to be a responsible human being. And people who don't do that are.
But the people that are freaking out obviously are being pushed to the limit, right? They're like being pushed to have this reaction.
People are fucking idiots to begin with.
But again, it's about the de-escalation. You have that choice of like, this guy's nuts. He's actually standing out here with a wand and a vest to get me to return my cart out of the pure funniness of it. Yeah. I'm going to return my cart and like de-escalate it and laugh. And then he doesn't have any content. But the people that will literally chase him or create, like calling the cops or going into the store to complain to the manager that somebody asked them to put their cart away, it's that I don't think they look at the property part. Like you and I think the cart is going to damage a car, right?
Yeah, pretty
Just
much.
the property damage part is enough alone to do that. But okay, you rule that out. You don't care about other people's property. What would be the incentive to get somebody to return their cart?
In some airports, they give you like, I don't know, a penny or something to put away the little trolleys. People are.
It's weird. Like, again, it's about the car part. Like this dude freaking out about me, and even though he was in the wrong way, but he was yelling at me. Like it's the same mentality with people in cars. Do you think cars embolden people to become more like?
I think people forget. It's like the cars are kind of like the internet.
Yeah.
Where there's a comedian who said this. It's like, if you were in line at the store and somebody cut you off, or you were in an elevator and someone bumped in front of you.
Yeah.
There's no way you would say what you would in a car. You would like flip them off and scream at them.
Right, that's true.
Cars embolden people, and I think it's like the internet, right? You think they think they can hide or be shielded by it.
That's a good point. Like, and that's some of the stuff with the internet that's become more prevalent. And I thought about this today on the way here because I really screwed up my point earlier. But the thing with the internet and social media is really interesting because in the past, I would say, when do you think social media really was prevalent? Like 15 years, in the past 15 years, realistically, when it's become real?
I think the last 10 years is where it's just been supercharged.
Okay. So 10 years, you've created a fundamental new global language. Like it really is a new language for people. They have to learn how to not only interact without interacting. To your point, like you could not go into the office in a major job and get away with saying half the shit that we say on the internet. You would be without a job. There's no standard for internet like communication for a lot of people. And it's because it's these two separate worlds. I feel like the car thing is very similar. Like you couldn't go up to somebody in a store, to your point. Like if there was some lady that like literally walked in front of me, I would have to have some couth about coming up like, ma'am, you just cut me off, or a guy, it doesn't matter. I'm not talking about I'm not, it could be anybody. Like you literally stepped in front of me and took my spot, you know, and that you'd have a normal dialogue, hopefully, where the person would be like, oh, go fuck yourself. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill your family. But on the internet or in the cars, people go from like normal human beings to like pure ape, like pure silverback style. And it's just, the psychology behind it fascinates me. And also why I was so triggered, I was ready to turn into an ape with my dad in the car. You know what I mean? Like, why is it so like, because you're, I don't know, man. Anyway.
Back to questions,
Okay.
Mark. Fuck. Oh, one of the non-paid questions that came up like 5 times is, why are you okay with a Challenger Scat Pack or whatever the hell the V8 model is and not the Kia Stinger?
Because the Scat Pack has a V8 and a ZF transmission and double wishbone suspension. No, that's a fair question. The Stinger, I think fundamentally what bothers me about the Stinger, and I know you will probably agree because it's a Korean car, is they took a really great platform, nerfed it, and then tried to overmarket the hell out of it into something that it wasn't. And then when you drive it, knowing that they were essentially trying to copy Mercedes, Audi, BMW to try to become a German car, and then you drive it and realize it's nothing like the German cars that it's trying to be. It's like a budget rear-wheel drive car that doesn't have the great dynamics. And to be fair, the Scat Pack does not either. But the Scat Pack makes noises. It has a great automatic transmission.
Or you can get it as a manual.
And a real manual that's great. And you can go sideways with no electronics hampering your driving experience. And it's a real like muscle car feel. Whereas the Stinger is hyper confused that it was trying to be something. It was what they were trying to do. They were not honest about. That's why I don't like it. It's not an honest car. That doesn't mean it's bad, because like you can make the same argument about like the Audi S, whatever pile it is, the copycat of S6.
Someone's already answered your question for you. Red Wine is Fine just said because the Stinger never won at WrestleMania.
Okay, leave it at that. The people on the comments, the people watching this are infinitely smarter than we are combined. So now you need to pool your AI, like all your consciousness.
I'm going to upload you into the Matrix so you can answer these questions.
Change our code and I'll just be as smart as everybody on here.
Alex T for $5. As someone planning to learn manual soon, would the Civic Si/Integra be the best daily driver option of all things considered?
Probably. I mean, I don't know about the Integra because of the cost. Excuse me. I have a business meeting I have to attend to. Answer a couple questions. Look, I know you hate me already. It's okay. I'll be back.
Are you going to mute your mic this time?
No, it's not. I'm not actually going to the toilet.
Gideon Loveland, thank you for your $10 donation. Oh, so I'm going to circle back, Alex. For the 5 people still watching, we did a comparison test with all of the, let's call it, affordable subcompact cars. While the SI was probably my least favorite out of the bunch from a purely performance perspective, you get a lot of car for your money. I think it's like in the mid 27s. And it comes with everything you could possibly want as a daily driver. It has a good gearbox. In between rev match and the fact that the actual pedal box and the shifter are great and relatively easy to use, it should be a perfect car to learn how to drive manual on, and it's a car that you will enjoy driving. Gideon, again, thank you for the $10. Nissam for $10. Thank you guys for your work, and please keep producing and more Instagram posts, please. Well, Mark and I are attempting to step up our Instagram game for what that's worth, so we are trying. Kevin Pearson for $5. I'd love to know who picks the music for transitions in each video. So the breakdown of work, I run the business side of this. I deal with trying to get cars, all of the other aspects of this, and we do some professional work as well. And I do most of the filming day in and day out for many of the regular cars, the bigger projects Mark and I work on together, or if it's a project Mark is particularly passionate about and I don't care, Mark will do it himself. The editing is all Mark. So the transitions are him, even though here and there I have suggestions. Hectica for $5. G20 M340i xDrive or 2018 F80 M3, assuming the M3 is only $5,000 more. M3, dude. Yeah, The M3 is probably a worse daily driver. The interior doesn't have all the latest toys, but the F80 is a really special car. And you should not be afraid if you buy the don't buy the F80 if you're worried about putting miles on it, because the F80 does have certain value at this point in time, and I'm sure as you pile miles onto it, the value will plummet. But that car is best used day in and day out, and then you get to enjoy the fact that at any moment's notice you can turn off traction control and go sideways. Hazel Green, thank you for the $10. Dylan for $5. Mark, anyone ever tell you look like Maynard James Keenan? I will answer that for Mark. We get that question. We used to get that comment all the time that he looked like one of the band members from Tool. Mark and I find that very entertaining. My favorite "who you look like" comment that I've gotten from somebody is "discount Markiplier," which I appreciate. Kiefer Snell for $20. Did you guys plan out the matching colored shirts? Mark, we were asked if we planned out our... Oh my God, dude. That was your business meeting?
Oh yeah, the sponsor deal. I already took half the money we made tonight in this.
Oh, perfect.
I got you some curlies, and I got my new badge.
We were asked for $20 if we planned out our matching fashion. No, see, Mark doesn't have the pocket protector that I have.
Yeah, this guy always goes pockets, and I'm like, what are you gonna put in that pocket?
More muscle.
All right, question answered. So have a few curlies, Jack.
No, dude, I'm gonna try to survive this.
Arby's sauce. How much Arby's sauce should we put on? You know, somebody asked me the other day, could they get extra performance by adding, like, diluting their oil in their car with some Arby's sauce? Would it give you that extra traction, or not traction, but extra, that like a friction modifier?
Oh, sorry, I was reading through the comments. Someone asked if you've been told that you look like Maynard Keen from Tool.
No, I've never heard. No, actually, I've heard that a lot. It's because of my bald ass head. It didn't used to be that way.
I looked at photos of Mark. I looked at photos when I first met you. Mm-hmm. Man, you had a way stronger hairline back then.
I know, like when I was, I think 30, I still had a pretty strong hairline at 35. I mean, my DMs from women were probably, I'd get one every year back then, and now I don't get one for like 10 years. So it's clearly my testosterone is too much for people now.
I told them that, God, what was one of the Bens, Asian Ben from Gears and Gasoline, said I looked like Discount Markiplier the first time I met him.
Discount who?
Markiplier, the YouTube guy, the half Asian, like, anyway, he's too young for you, Mark.
Yeah, what is he, like 25?
I have no idea.
These guys, you know, I don't pay attention to young kids these days. They don't know anything.
And someone said I look like Bird Person from Rick and Morty, which I appreciate.
All right, dude, you're having a curly. I don't care what you say. Take that big one.
Dude, these things look like they came out of a crematorium.
Well, that's why they're good.
You see that?
And no, we're not
cold.
Well, they got delivered like 20 minutes ago. Anyway, no, we're not sponsored by Arby's. Okay, so we're not yet.
God, this is fucking horrible.
What?
It's like soggy packing peanut covered in like garlic and
what
salt.
You don't eat, I'm shipping back your birthday present for next year.
I'm sure it'll look the same.
They'll probably eat it out of the box. Oh, wait a second.
I got to go back to answering these questions.
Look at that. Oh my God. Look at the art they did on the top here with the whipped cream and the whatever fake chocolate sauce it is.
Man, that's more impressive than my cappuccino this morning. Hazel Green for $10. 2008 Porsche Cayman S Tiptronic versus 2010 Nissan 370Z manual. What are your thoughts as used car purchase?
What do you start? Tell me.
Cayman from 2008. Good going, Chief. And a versus a 2010 Nissan 370Z.
I'd probably go 370Z. I know that's sacrilege, but I think you can get a lot more into it and a lot more out of it just by tinkering around if that's what you want to do. If you're going to leave it alone, then Cayman.
I hate the 370Z. like, I mean, people know from, but he's probably not wrong. The Tiptronic part, I can't remember if the 2008 was a PDK car or not. I think the Dot 2 was the first PDK. I wouldn't get a Cayman as an automatic, man. If you manual Cayman versus 370Z, I would probably get the Cayman. I can't believe you do this. You have a family to worry about.
They all left me. Yeah, they left me. I was trying to poison them with my Arby's, and I ordered this as like the usual
joke, and this is actually now your dinner.
And now I'm like, I feel bad. I'm like, I don't want it to go to waste, and it's like choking it down every last bite, even though I'm secretly enjoying it.
All right, back to the questions. Ricky S, thank you for the $10. You guys are amazing. Are the shirts sold on Redbubble globally legit? The merch store on your site links to a car supply warehouse instead. So we have 2 merch locations, car suppliers, warehouses. The higher end shirts that a portion of all of our profits, what zero profit actually exists, what little profit there is goes to charity. And then Redbubble is just something we made a long time ago. So if you want a shirt right away, go to Redbubble. We'll sooner or later order another batch of T-shirts to go to Car Supply.
Yeah, Redbubble is,
it is legit.
It is legit. I did create it, and like what the actual margin is like a joke. It's like, I think by the time you convert it from Australian, because it's Australian, you convert it from Australian dollars to US dollars, it's like $1.80 a shirt in terms of margin. I mean, I don't make it. I just upload the design. But the quality of the shirts
is questionable.
Some
are good, some are terrible.
Yeah.
Puzzled Bunny for $5. Based upon your feedback, I bought a GTI today, base version, of course, at my local dealership at MSRP no less. Love how it feels. Thanks. Congrats, dude. Congrats on the new car. I think you'll really like it.
Was that auto or D?
You didn't say. Either way, congrats on the new car, man.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Put new tires on it. The all seasons are not so great.
Oh yeah, good point. From us doing that, like, it's amazing how that car responds to sticky tires. So you put some sticky tires, it gets crazy how good it is.
Mm-hmm. The VAQ front diff does a really good job.
Traction off, by the way, or whatever, stability, or whatever they call it in that car.
Administrator for $20. I can see a condom on the right side corner of the couch.
Which side?
The right side is your side, Mark.
Oh, but it might be reversed on theirs.
No.
Is there really a condom in here?
I have no idea. All right, anyway, moving on.
I blew through a box last night.
Yeah, well, yeah, man, you're a busy man.
Oh, I was just doing it. That's my side hustles. I do inflation tests to make sure there's no holes in them, and then I repackage them.
Goddamn, Mark.
Hey, you told me I was technical. I should have a technical job.
Jaya, thank you for the $5. Buzzy, thank you for the $2. First fun car purchase, new Mustang GT or 2009 911. Do you want a warranty? Do you not want a warranty?
First fun car?
Yeah.
Oh, Mustang. You got to get that out of your system, man. You got to figure out how to break the car and ruin it, and then you can go to the 911. That's kind of a weird jump, though. Oh man, I had a Mustang, and now I got a 911.
I had a 15, so an S550 GT Premium. And the reason why I can go sideways well is because of that car. And I fucking love the Mustang still.
It's a good driving tool, even though it's like
not at the same time.
Yeah, it's not a great driving tool, but it is. It's not a car that you learn how to drive smooth on. I think that's the only negative part. Now that I'm done with this,
Han W for $5. Oh man,
here. I'll take this off. They got enough.
You know, like Popeye tattoo on my.
They promised. I basically, I didn't tell you. I did a brand deal with them.
Oh, okay,
we're getting $13 for 5 minutes.
Yes. I can put
I'll split it with you.
2 gallons of gas.
No.
1 gallon of gas if we split it.
No, I'm splitting it 75-25 because you're not. You talk shit about the
I
curly
heard
fries.
our deals. Yeah, my bad. I'm sorry. I'm gonna live in a box now. Han W for $5. Fun car for mountain driving. 2019 Toyota 86. Should I sell now? Oh, he lives in Australia. I saw these prices, so I'm like, what the fuck? Sorry, Han W. I'll reread your question. Fun car for mountain driving. 2019 Toyota 86. Should I sell now for 38,000 Australian and buy a new ND2 highest spec for about 50,000 Australian? I live in Australia.
You're kidding. I don't know.
Okay, would you go from a 2019 86 to an ND2?
Yes,
There you go.
100%. If it's a fun car, you will have fun in it. I promise.
It's a good car. Making sure that our mics are still good. Perfect. All right, I think our mics are still good. I'll keep going. Lots of
Let's do a shout out.
who's the shout out to now?
To me, I'm the best. No, shout out to Chris.
Yeah, Chin Face is doing an excellent job.
Chris is our moderator. You'll see him on next Friday. Or no, Monday's
Next
video.
Monday, the lyric video.
Like Cadillac lyric video. Strap yourself in for the ride of your life. Chris will be in it.
It's incredible.
This is his second. So he broke the seal on the first. Well, actually, he's been in other
He's
videos.
only going to be in Cadillac videos, though, when he speaks. I'm making sure that he only speaks in Cadillac videos. When I review the nursing home edition Cadillac, he'll be there.
I don't think they'll ever have that.
They won't.
These cars are targeted towards a youthful demographic like myself.
65.
What did they say the lyric was for me?
Yeah, it's actually your gen. It's one of the youngest ever buying demographics of Cadillac is a lyric.
28.
13.
13.
Yeah, all the
They're
TikTok money.
They're targeting TikTok money.
Wallaby Joe, thank you for the $20. Wallaby, love your videos. I think you're the best on YouTube for cars. The S2000 review was exceptional. In particular, any chance we can get an E46 M3 coupe or convertible review? I'd love to do one. I made a mistake of not taking up one of the owners earlier. He then proceeded to modify the E46 into oblivion. One day I will do an E46 M3 video, and I promise it'll be amazing. Yeah,
the thing with the E46 stuff is we're not going to be able to get any support on it from like ex people that worked on it.
The one place, EAG, is it EAG?
Yeah,
EAG. Even though sadly the original owner passed away, his brother took over. I'd probably reach out to them and get some support. Like they helped us for the Z4M video.
Yeah, I guess that would be a way to do support, but we wouldn't have manufacturer support on it.
Nope, zero. Sean Smith, any news on the GR Corolla press drive date into August? Thank you for the $5, by the way. Chris, maybe middle of August, sometime in August. I'm pretty sure it's the end of August.
By the way, to reiterate, the plan right now, barring any financial disaster, is
I buy a GR Corolla, he buys a CTR,
and then
we crash them into one another.
Yeah, we just total them out. Be like, oh, these cars were just defective, and then have a question mark in the thumbnail where the cars are crashed.
Where I'm grabbing my head.
You're
or
grabbing
something.
your head, and I'm like sitting there on the phone calling my insurance company, and the tow truck's in the background, and I have 6 million views, and then I buy your family. I become the biggest mogul on the internet.
Chris, for $7 Canadian, where's DJ Shrimp Scampi? I thought we were going to be serenaded by some nice artisanal beats.
Well, I said this at the beginning of the live stream. If you're too deaf to hear it, look, he didn't make it. What more do you want from me?
Dominic for $5. Mark, in your final thoughts, the Alpha 4C, you call it one of the most fun, rewarding cars you've driven in years. Does that hold up today?
Yeah.
Now, Mark was bought out by Alfa Romeo. They took him to his favorite Italian restaurant, the Olive Garden.
Yeah, they sent over their. Remember, that was the only time in the car show that I just shook my head and was like, "What the hell is happening?" Because they're the only ones that had like the models by their booth by the Alpha cars, and I'm like, the girls look horribly uncomfortable. Like,
because you had all these sweaty, lonely journalists who finally saw in Chin Face's words, femoid spotted. These poor women.
No. Yeah. Anyway, that regardless of that, yeah, it's a special car. I mean, it's highly, highly flawed.
One of the more entertaining podcasts I've listened to had Chris Harris talking about his launch program of the 4C and how he got thrown out of it because he made fun of the 4C for having double wishbone front strut rear.
Mm-hmm.
He said it was like an RC car, and the engineers didn't see humor in it, and they kicked them out. It has really weird suspension.
I get it. I mean, I understand it. And the mindset was for what they tried to do with it, there was not enough room to package in double wishbone.
Same problem.
So, I mean,
they just did it in the front instead.
It's not a great car objectively. It's not particularly fast in a straight line, nor is like a Lotus Elise or an Exige, and it's not as good to drive as a Lotus Elise or Exige. Mm-hmm. But you really do. It's what other carbon tub car can you even name that was in that price. It doesn't exist.
A lemon 570S.
Yeah, right. But you know what I mean? Like there
I
was
know.
something very special about driving that you couldn't put your finger on. I think it was a lost opportunity not to fully develop it, but I'm sure they ran out of money. I would have loved to see a manual in that car. I could have used it.
Yeah,
But,
I think so I've never actually driven one, so I'm probably the wrong person to actually.
I think you'd really like it if you fit in it. You'd be like, man, this thing's horrible, but it's amazing.
Tech Czar for $28 Canadian. Thank you for the $28 Canadian. I'm a field rep for one of the OEMs in Canada, and I appreciate the hell out of the content you put out. Sometimes the interviews and materials you share are more insightful than the content provided from NA head office. Well, I'm glad that's helpful for you, Tech Czar, and I'm sorry that sometimes your head office isn't the most helpful.
I don't know what it is. Again, it goes back to the fact that some of these questions that we ask are weird and like they're Dungeons and Dragons shit, really.
Mhm.
And I know from the other side, they're like, why does anybody care about this? But the fact that we care about it, and I know that there's a lot of people on here, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people actually like this information because you don't get it anywhere. And it forces them to actually get it.
Or these people get an appreciation about their car that they're interested in and that they didn't think they would have. Like the number of people from our 992 Carrera, I can't believe you're drinking than that.
It's so gross.
The number of people from our 992 Carrera S video that bought 992 911s is amazing.
Yeah.
The people who've written, DM me, even put in comments that they bought them. And that video is like 40 minutes long about every technical tidbit about that 911.
Yeah, all the Porsche bots that you bought to
Yeah.
tell you how right you were.
Yeah, well,
How many Porsche bots did you buy?
I own thousands.
Oh, Jack, tell me more about Porsche. Oh, you're the best, Jack. Oh, God.
All right, moving on. Daniel Field, Mark, are you Tim Pool without the beanie? I don't even know who Tim Pool is.
I don't know who Tim Pool is either.
Look it up on your phone, Mark. You could find
I'm
out.
sorry. I know this is where,
Mark isn't cool.
I'm not cool. All right, let me look and I will tell you.
NX579 said donated $5. Sorry, NX donated $5.79 for 1 dozen Cheddar Bay biscuits, Mark, for you.
Oh, my God. I can't even eat that many. What was the dude's name again?
Tim Pool.
I typed Tim Bay because he said, is it Pool?
Yeah, like the thing you swim in.
Oh, he's an American YouTuber. Oh, no, I'm liking him even more. He's born in 86. Okay, that's positive. All right, I'll read his Wikipedia thing. Is an American YouTuber, political commentator, and podcast host who first became known for live streaming the 2011 Occupy Wall Street protest. He joined Vice Media and Fusion TV. He's from Chicago. I'm assuming we're talking about the same Tim Pool here. So what was the connection?
Are you him without the beanie?
No, Tim Pool is way more handsome than me. I will show you a picture of him, Jack. Is he bald under there?
I have no idea. All right, moving on.
And now you got my curiosity.
Mad 25352 for $5. Should I move on from my Land Cruiser? Should I get a Macan or LC500? Looking to take road trips, not interested in track. Macan or LC500? LC500, right?
LC500. Here, let me show you Tim Pool since we're talking about this dude.
Guy's got a more impressive beard than you.
I can't have facial hair, dude. I can't do it. Anyway.
His partner drives a GSF. So LC500. Do you think the LC500 is too similar to the GSF? They're very different.
They're very different. They're totally not
LC500. LC500 all the way. Oh, he is bald.
Yeah, there's a clip of somebody, or I'll show you I'm sure you can't see it. Some dude actually ripped his beanie off and he's like, oh, man, don't touch my beanie. That's what happens to me in public. If you ever see me around wearing my alligator hat or my crocodile hat or one of my animal hats that I wear.
We did a nice shout out to Everyday Driver in their anniversary video that hopefully they put up.
Yeah, when is that coming out?
I have no idea.
All I care about is what I said, not anybody else.
Nap Oversteer for $20. Nap, thank you for the $20 donation. I have a 21 TLX, but I miss having a manual DD. I put an Integra MT on order. You've driven both. Do you feel like the manual Integra is more fun and engaging to drive than a base 2-liter TLX? Manual?
I would say it's more engaging.
The Integra?
No, the manual Integra is more engaging than the base TLX. So the base TLX really, it's
got a good suspension and stuff.
It is. It's got a really good suspension, but it's not like particularly engaging to drive. It's more of like
competent.
Yeah.
You'll like the Integra, man. If you like Acura products, which you clearly do, you'll like the Integra.
John Mayer sent us something on. We have a huge live stream we have to shoot for Patreon. So if you're a Patreon on here, we have like one to shoot separately that we'll put up on there.
It'll be like 4 hours of us answering.
Yeah, there's
questions.
like a jillion questions, but somebody messaged me on there. I wanted to answer this. When do you think the car dealer model, this is from John, when do you think the car dealer model will finally kick the bucket? It's obvious companies like Ford are moving away from offering new vehicles through dealerships. They have split out their EV products under a new subsidiary company to sell outside the dealerships.
It'll be fought in the courts. There's so many dealer protections in states to states. It'll be fought in courts. The dealers can spend, if the OEMs can spend more money than the dealers, and they see the value in getting rid of their dealers, they will. Because why wouldn't they? They can control pricing. They can control the profit stream. It might hurt some people in that you won't be able to negotiate for certain vehicles. You'll be entirely reliant. Maybe the average, special deals, if you're a savvy buyer, will disappear. But for regular people, it might help you. You'll just be, it'll be like buying a car.
Well, it's got the same problem right now. It has the pluses and minuses. On a bad market, you can save a lot of money from dealerships.
On a good market,
you're going to get bent over. But when car manufacturers can lock in pricing, that can be a really bad thing as well. Because they potentially have a set price that there's no way around. So if they want to mark something up or have it really expensive, you're done. Now, that's not to say that they can't have their own incentives with financing and all that. That might make them stronger to be able to control the entire system, where they will have their own financing, different plans, like how, was it Volvo was the first one to do it, where you could like have a subscription service? I don't remember who the first to do it, but Volvo was one of the first I remember that allowed you to do a subscription service where they cover insurance. They pay a part of your payment is all of it. And that could be very appealing for somebody, especially with, well, I don't know how that would work with a younger person.
I think there are pros and cons. I know, I can't remember who said this, but on average, they think the average transaction price would drop $2 or $3 grand.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's true or not, because I think certain deals, like when you bought your Volvo, your XC90 the first time around, and when I bought my Vet, we got smoking deals because we shopped around.
Right. So I think there's pros and cons, but to be honest, the answer is it has to change. The dealership like structure is rooted in, a long time. We're talking 60 years or whatever it is with the franchising stuff. It's actually longer than that, way longer than that. So you have an old system that predates the internet. And like we just talked about, social media is really like probably 15 years old, to be real about it, mass adoption. Just in that time, it's obliterated the concept, and there's better ways to do it. And it's going to take all these companies banding together to get it changed in the courts. And but I don't know what you do with all the dealerships you have, because, you have a lot of money. These companies have a lot of money invested in their dealer networks. And part of the dealer network is also the support network. And they're usually operated separately in terms of cost centers as well. So it's not something that's going to change overnight. The big companies would have to, like Ford and GM and all them.
Oh, shout out to Chinface again for modding out the million porn bots. Apparently,
there's a million porn bots.
They keep popping up in our live.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
is anything good? No. It's probably just the same thing over and over again.
And the other thing is, I'll bring it up now because we do our best. There's a bot that keeps saying message them on Telegram. That is obviously not us.
Yeah, we don't even use Telegram.
So please don't click on that. As they create accounts, we try to delete them, but YouTube's fun. All right, back to the questions.
Yeah, if you get something saying you won something or you won a prize,
you win nothing from us.
You guaranteed you didn't win anything. And if you did win anything, I'd already be standing in your window to your bedroom, like looking in, like.
All right. Hopefully that answered your question, Nat. By the way, I think you'll like the Integra manual, despite what the internet says. It's more engaging to drive than the TLX. Buzzy for $5. What's the best way to learn what type of car we like? I don't know what we like and not sure. Cost-effective way to learn, i.e. muscle versus German versus Japanese.
That's a fair question. It's like coming out of school and saying, oh, I want to be this. And then you get in the job and you're like, oh, shit. It's experience and seat time and accessibility. It's what you have access to. So I always say to people, if you're into a certain car, enthusiast car, you got to get out there and do the work. You got to get out to autocrosses, car meets, meet people that have different cars, have them take it. Worst case, they won't let you drive the car, get in it and feel it out.
Autocross is the best way to do it. If you don't have a ton of money or resources, most autocrosses, if you go to a friendly enough club, you can ride in anybody's car.
Like most of the flexible autocross not companies, but groups will let you do ride-alongs. That's a good way to really feel out to see, is the car fast? Does it handle well? You'll talk to owners about it and get a better insight. The straight answer is you're not going to know until you drive these cars and experience it. And sometimes with car ownership, I told this to Jack, sometimes you just have to buy a car and own it to get it out of your system. Be like, this is not for me. Or you learn something about yourself that, yes, I like this style of car and I need to find something more like that. So don't listen to anybody particularly. Let it be a guide, but then make your own decision about what you really like.
Jordan Estevo, thank you for the $5. Some stuff doesn't come across on camera, like size, road presence, paint quality, panel gap, etc. Can you discuss without getting into subjective taste? We've talked about the paint thing before, like doing it with Jason. It's hard though.
Yeah, it is hard because
a lot of the cars are fucked up to begin with.
Yeah, so we're getting press cars, and press cars, well, we're usually first to get them in our area, but they already have like 2,500 miles on them, which means they've probably been washed like 60 times. So it's hard to tell overall paint quality. You can see orange peel. And if you can see panel gap, obviously. And I think a lot of these cars, the only time I bring it up is when it's really out of spec. There's like a level of, like, I brought it up with Tesla. I brought it up with Ford. Ford's really bad. Like, at least their cars were really bad.
My rear bumper and my hood were fucking hilariously bad on my Mustang.
Yeah. So, like, those types of cars, the Civic, the Type R that we had, I think it wasn't the yellow one. Did we have a matte one? I don't remember what the one I was having.
That was the gray one, the one that did the first update video on, like the 2019.
Oh yeah. Was that a matte color or was that just silver? I don't remember what it was.
No, it was a regular color. It was
okay. So anyway, the last batch of Type R's that came out of Swindon, it was like
they just didn't care.
They
anymore.
Just like bolted up the panels to the car and they're just like, send it. Horrible. But yeah, unless something's really bad, I really don't go into it because most cars are actually pretty good, honestly.
Kyle Hernandez for $10. What percent of performance are the CT4/CT5V non-Blackwing cars compared to the Blackwings? Like, if you are never going to take them on the track, is there any reason to get the Blackwing? Yeah, I get the Blackwing because they're V8s. The CT5V is a good one. You get a V8. I was going to say, we're doing an M3 all-wheel drive video coming up. And my favorite performance sedan that I have driven in the last 2 or 3 years doing this is the CT5V Blackwing. That car is fucking amazing.
But you're also talking about an assload of money. And a lot of it's wasted. You know what I mean? Like, you really have to value
But if you're buying a CT5V, you're already spending like 70 grand.
How much is a regular CT4 or CT5 without the V stuff?
He asked specifically for the V. So there's the V and there's the Blackwing.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Oh, I thought you said the regular ones. Okay, well, that's different. I mean, yeah, if you can even... But the problem is you're not going to find a Blackwing. Guaranteed it's going to be really hard to find one. And that's not marked up.
So the CT5V Blackwing is $51,000 before options. So the CT5V non-Blackwing is 51 grand before options. So figure probably like 60 grand with options.
Okay.
It's 20 grand delta to get the Blackwing.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, man.
It is. But you get, as a street car, the Blackwing is amazing, other than fuel economy. I don't know, man.
I don't think you're going to find a Blackwing for MSRP. I just don't think it's possible. So if that's the case, because when we were looking, they were all $20,000 to $30,000 more. If you can get one for MSRP, you'll be able to flip it, especially if you get a manual, because it's going to be so rare.
The value part then.
Yeah.
But monetarily, I would bet you if you bought a Blackwing and you could get one at sticker, your cost to own over 4 years would be less than the CT5V regular because of depreciation. Because the regular V will depreciate probably like a rock, and the Blackwing manual won't move.
That's just not saying there's anything wrong with it. I guess you're looking at it from two different ways. He asked because he's not going to take it to the track. If he wants it, if you want a CT5V, then just lease the thing. Just lease it. And like I said before, get it out of your system. You'll know by the end of that 2 years Was it good enough for you?
or drive both.
Yeah,
and then make your
well, if
decision.
you drive both, then you're not going to want the regular one. that that's the truth of it. It's
Johan, thank you for your $39.90 MYR. I don't know what currency that is, but thank you for your donation.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Savage Geese, huge fan. Thanks for the truly insightful content. Have a question mainly directed to Mark. Could you touch more about your Volvo ownership? Would you recommend it in 2022?
So I really liked my Volvo. I really liked it, and I said this in the last live stream about the XC90, and I had a fully loaded R design. I mean, it had every option, and it was one of the few cars that I had that I really didn't want to get rid of. I really wanted that thing to work. I didn't want to get rid of it. I enjoyed it. I loved the interior. I loved the audio system. Like, that interior space made up for a lot of deficiencies in terms it wasn't the best riding car. It wasn't the most quietest on the road. It definitely did not have the best drivetrain, but it made up for it in a lot of the character on the inside and the outside. The reason why I didn't, one of the reasons why I don't recommend it is because they have far too many issues with their drivetrain. Now, T5 is far less complicated, but if you want to go to the upper trim level ones with the T6 or the recharge ones, they're just, they didn't do enough. Like, their focus was not enough on like making these things reliable, and therefore, I know I've talked to people that said they haven't had many problems with theirs, and then you talk to people like me where they have everything going wrong with it, and that's why if you're going to get one, you either have to lease it or you have a really long warranty. And not only that, you have to be prepared for, just because you have a warranty doesn't mean that when the car goes in the shop, 1, it's going to get fixed. 2, it's going to get fixed in a timely manner. And 3, shit's not going to be back ordered for months. And that becomes the other big issue. So if you like it enough to do it, go for it. If you're worried about like it being in the shop or like taking forever to get fixed, then I would stay away from it. But I personally really liked the XC90.
It looked great. It had an interesting looking interior. It had a great audio system. But objectively, compared to its competition, today, it's a weak offering.
It's old. Like that generation, that SPA architecture that a lot of those cars are on is old. That's why it doesn't compete in terms of ride quality, chassis rigidity, all the things like that the Germans are good at. When you get in an Audi, like a Q5 or a Q7 or a BMW X5 or an X7, it's like on another planet of like, it's on another level of engineering and just solidness.
And the dealers are weak.
And the Volvo dealerships are really weak. They're tiny. That's not saying you're going to have a bad experience, but they're tiny relative, and their resources are far less.
And there's just not very many of them.
Yeah, but that's also the draw. Some people like that. That's one of the things I liked about Volvo.
Because it wasn't a generic.
It wasn't a total NPC like luxury car. It had some character to it, and you didn't see a million of them on the road. There's a lot of them on the road, but it's not like, copy and paste X3, X5 everywhere.
Machine Spirit Miami, thank you for the $5. Hope this helps keep the dream alive, Mark, for us corporal slaves who have not yet escaped. Our corporal overlords do what they enjoy.
Okay, well, let's see how long we can hold out before we come and join you. And then open up a position so I can come in and just hit my head on the desk. Like, oh man, I really wanted it back. And after a month.
Who's that character from Office Space? What was his name? Who burned down the office?
Milton.
Milton? Are you going to turn into a Milton? Or they
I'm
just move you
this place down? Well, it wasn't. No, it was when he moved him to like the storage room.
Yeah, then he burnt.
Yeah, because he already said he was going to burn the place down after he took his stapler.
Ben D for $6.90. If you had to choose between an Elantra N and GR86 for 75% daily, 25% track use, for someone trying to learn car control, what would you pick?
What are the car options?
Elantra N or GR86?
GR86. You're not going to learn much from the Elantra N in terms of car control. I mean, it's a great car. It's very connected, but it depends what you want to start with, because driving front wheel drive creates
bad habits.
It creates different habits, and they don't translate well to rear wheel drive. Like Jack, it's hard for Jack to get in a front wheel drive car. Like, your brain doesn't work with it. Like, it's harder to go that way. Like when I almost understeered off the road in that pile, like I don't think your brain understands understeer as much as oversteer.
Oversteer for me is really easy. I'm just like,
yeah,
our brains are way different.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I understand both, but I'm more afraid of oversteer, because when things go wrong with that, it can be almost sudden or like dangerous.
Yeah,
whereas-
but when it goes sideways for me, I always laugh.
yeah, that's true. So I don't know. I would start with a rear-wheel drive car because it's typically there's more fundamentals you're going to get from driving fast. And
Ignoring car control though, Elantra or GR86.
86, still because let's say what are you going to take from the Elantra N and move it on to the next car from a sports car perspective? That's like top dog front-wheel drive. There's nothing else but like front-wheel
But purely
drive.
from a fun perspective, though, I think the Elantra N is as fun.
The Elantra N is more fun than the 86 to
and
drive.
it's, I think, better to drive in some ways than the 86.
I think it's more hardcore to drive, but you can take the lessons learned in the GR86 and move it into Mustangs, Camaros, Porsches,
Corvettes,
all the big boy rear-wheel drive cars. You can take all that and understand those cars and get comfortable in those. Whereas the Elantra N, you do what you do in the Elantra N in a rear-wheel drive car, and you're going to wind up in a pole.
Yeah.
You know.
Pan 46 for $10. Hey guys, I really appreciate your commitment to informative content. What would you choose between a 718 GTS 4-liter and a 992 Carrera S, both being manual? Oh, we've driven both. Did you like the 911, the red Carrera, the one that I loved to pieces, or the GTS convertible 4-liter?
GTS convertible 4-liter.
Why?
Because you feel connected driving that. It's instantly has a sense of nimbleness compared to the 911. The 911 feels like a GT car that's quick. It's more like there's more disconnect in that car. Whereas you put the top down in the GTS and it's lightning quick. Like everything responds fast on the street. You feel like you're a part of that machine and that experience. That's why I like it.
I like the longer wheelbase of the 911
because you want to slide a car.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He and I. It's like as someone who's trying to buy a certain 718, I really love those cars. And I think I'd have to go to the GT4 and maybe the GTS 4-liter to not want to buy a Carrera S. But I think gun to my head, if the price delta didn't matter, because a Carrera S with a manual is like 150 grand, I would probably still get the Carrera S. But you're right, the GTS I think is a better driver's car.
Like and the best way to do it is you take those cars back to back, and if you like snappy, quick, light, responsive cars versus like that oversteery car, they're night and day in terms of mentality. It's very strange because they're very similar. They're not similar, but they are similar. But the character is so much different. So it really depends on the type of driver you are.
Yeah, they're both. You can't go wrong with that.
I like going through a corner, foot to the floor, and having to do this to correct it quickly, and having the car correct from a snap versus like where you put your foot through the floor and then the car's going sideways, and you're like doing a full correction, and it's not. You're not getting a snappy like fix to it.
But that's the difference between the two cars that we like driving. You like the S2000 because it's not a car that does big power oversteer. I came from the Mustang, and now that I figured out the C7, I can slide that car to my heart's content, do ridiculously big slides, but I like that.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you like, but nimbleness-wise, the GTS is a better car.
Yeah.
Ricardo for $10. Thoughts on the new Kia Forte GT with the GT2 or the dual clutch package? Is it the perfect daily driver? My only worry is the transmission reliability.
I haven't driven it.
I haven't either.
I mean, if it's like the traditional DCT, like is it the DCT out of like the Elantra pot, like the Elantra N? I have no idea.
I will ask for a Forte GT with the dual clutch, and I will do a video on one.
Is it like a 1.6 or is it a 2-liter?
It's a Korean car. I don't know anything about it.
I mean, it has the potential to be, I'm sure, very.
You like the Forte? I had a Forte rental car. I was good.
But that's not a good lead in.
Oh
man, I had a rental car. It wasn't a total piece of shit.
It was a Turo though. I Turoed on vacation.
Okay.
Yeah, it was fine. I had no problem with that car.
Yeah, I really like to see the thing that Hyundai and Kia does is they still make small cars that are not horrible. Like, and they don't have. I said this before in other videos. I'm sure you've seen it. Like, when you don't have options for cars, they could totally phone it in just to have something in, like a GM and Ford mentality, where they just have to put it there just so they have something on their website. And the Fortes and like the cheaper Hyundai and Kia cars don't feel horrible. Like they don't feel bad. They feel like they were still designed for somebody that doesn't have a budget, and you don't feel bad driving it, and they still drive well. I mean, are they as good as a modern Civic now and all that? No, but they're way cheaper. Yeah.
The value part of the cheap Hyundai and Kia products acknowledging the fact that they aren't shit boxes anymore. They're
Yeah.
really good cars.
Yeah.
It's a strong offering.
I had a pretty big turnaround from the Kona N. I mean, I don't like the Kona N for what it is. I think it's just stupid, but a great car. CUV thing is stupid, but the Elantra N, man, like that was like, I always saw this marketing shit, and just getting out there to drive it on track the way that like they kind of set it up.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's just so special what they did, and nobody else is doing that for that price anymore. That's like how cars kind of used to be, like, and obviously there's no comparison, but like talking about the CRX was kind of like the embodiment of the compact car that was fun to drive, connected, that you could use all the time, that you felt something. And the Elantra N really sacrifices a lot of the things that make the other cars, the GTI, boring as shit. You get out there like, I really, really want to drive the Elantra N. Like, I really want to drive it, and then I feel like I'm doing something.
I'm honestly going to try to get the dual clutch I thought about to do another video on.
Yeah.
Just so we could drive it on track.
Good point.
I wish, and I'm going to try to get them to answer this question. Getting Hyundai and Kia to answer technical questions is sometimes, it's basically impossible.
It's impossible because everything's not done. Nothing's done in the US.
Yeah,
nothing.
A
product planning is done, but that's like, where do we put the mirrors? Where do we put the cup holders? You know, what features do people want? It is
so the Elantra N is so much better to drive than the Veloster N, and I don't know why. And I want, because a lot of the components are basically identical.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask them this time what they did and how, like, the finer bits. I can't guarantee you I'm going to get an answer, but I'm going to try.
Yeah, they're not on the same. I mean, I guess they're on the same architecture.
Similar, basically identical motor. The Elantra N makes more power.
I'm talking about the body. Is the new Veloster, and I can't remember.
I think the Elantra N is more rigid than the Veloster.
Okay, but that would make sense because it feels more rigid. The wheelbase is obviously longer, I would assume, which could also make it feel more stable.
But getting those real technical answers from an engineer, I think, will go a long way.
Agreed.
All right, let's go back into the bajillion questions we've been answering.
It's what's funny is, I thought you said we weren't going to talk about Korean cars last live stream,
but I have to. Hey, the Elantra N's great.
Now, so what are we not?
Because I've been paid by a lot.
Hyundai now?
The Hyundai,
like,
the Elantra engineers came to me. He's like, Jack,
you're a real corner rascal.
Yeah, you're a real corner rascal.
Or whatever marketing shit.
Can you talk about Engren shift?
Oh God, yeah. Can we put? I'm gonna put triangles on your face, dude. You're gonna have a triangle hat. I know we should ban Porsche. How would you just leave if?
Yeah, would I just be gone?
Yeah.
Samuel. And we're doing a Cayenne Turbo GT in August.
Yeah, what was up with that? I thought we were getting that way sooner.
I just I want to take it to the track.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So, Sam, hello. I have no kids, but I bought a new minivan, a Honda Odyssey with the J35. Minivans have been proven to be far superior than a truck to haul my shifter cart around the country. Minivan over pickup truck. If you don't need to tow,
I would totally do the same thing. I mean, if I got to a place in my life where I could do at least a regional karting, I would do that, and I would highly consider doing it in a minivan.
Sam, thanks for the $10, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, man. I would love to. If you're ever out at Autobahn and doing karting,
hit us up.
Hit us up because I'd love to get out there. I told Jack this year. One of my goals was to actually get out.
Yeah, that never happened.
Yeah. It's
Brian Janty, by the way, the guy who used to work at Mancuso, hooked us up with the Lotuses and helped us with our karting video. That guy is amazing.
Yeah.
He's a big regional karter, and he does it all in a GTI. I think he puts the cart in the GTI.
Oh, he does?
Yeah. Or he has a trailer for it.
He's got to do wheels off and all that.
Yeah, right? I'm sure. But Brian.
How does he deal with keeping it from sloshing around? Like fluids and all that?
I have no idea.
Drain it all out?
I have no idea. I just know that he does that, and that's pretty amazing. Mobus for $20. Thank you for the $20. Love your channel.
Thank you.
Always have good vibes and fun to watch. Quick car question. My DD is a LS 430. Get a new upper spec Z for the weekend, or sell the LS 430 and get a base spec IS 500 F Sport?
Well, since he's already got a Lexus, just go for the IS. He's probably going to be more happy with that.
Just as a DD as well. He has a DD. The IS 500 is amazing.
Yeah.
If you're never going to see the track, the IS 500 is a great car.
Yeah, the IS 500 is a really good street car. That's where it excels. If you expect it to be anything more than a really good street car that makes a lot of noise and kind of goes sideways, you're going to be disappointed in it.
The Z is a good car. I'm really excited. So for those who didn't watch the beginning of this live stream, and I know it's super long, we are doing a comparison test again with the Z, the same with the Supra on the GR86, and we are putting the Supra and the Z in the same tire, and they're going to be on a very sticky 200 tread wear tire from a certain Japanese manufacturer. And I'm really excited to see what the Z's like, because it'll be on performance pads as well, to see what it's like as a track car on a dry track that we know really, really well.
Yeah.
A lot of people have complained that the Z is too soft, which I maybe argue yes or no, but the tires are not good.
Yeah.
Now that we eliminate that factor, and to be fair, anyone who's going to track that car is going to put it on a sticky set of tires.
Agreed.
I'm curious to see what that car's like. Because if it does the track well and it does the daily part compromise, it's still a cool car.
I think what you're going to find is much like this broken record of this, whatever we're doing here. You're going to get out of the Supra, and the Supra is going to be belligerently fast, and the brakes are going to give out first. And you're going to get in the Z, and the Z is not going to be as fast, but it's going to be far more fun to drive. I could be wrong, but that would be my guess.
Yeah, whenever I drive the Supras, and we've driven them a lot now, and we've driven them a lot on the track, the Supra to me is this great bargain for $50,000. You're basically getting like a discount M car in some ways.
Yeah.
But then I think that the Camaro SS1LE, if you're looking for a track car, is way more involving and similar money. It's just probably not as fast.
That would be an interesting. Well, we'd never get a SS1LE.
Now that I'm going to try. I'll ask. I really want to do a video.
They got to have one in Detroit they can ship.
Yeah, I'll ask.
Because that's really the missing link. Because a lot of people have been asking for the SS1LE for a long time, and it's a car they don't put it in the fleet because they do not care about Camaro. They just don't. They don't care about it anymore. So getting that as a manufacturer car is hard. Not
Drake for $20. Last live stream, few people mentioned the 2022 Bolt price cut. I bought one with the discount to replace my 99 Cherokee. I actually love it. Pretty zippy, and now a $6 charge gets me further than a $100 tank did.
Yeah, that is no joke. I don't disagree with that right now. It's kind of a here and now thing, but we did the GV60.
Not having to fill it up was nice.
And going, because I wound up, the range sucks on it, but to me it sucked. And then going to a DC fast charger, I did about 20 to 80% in 17 minutes, and it was roughly $20 every time I did that. There's pitfalls to that, don't get me wrong. Like, that $20 isn't really fair, but I mean, compared to like what we're dealing with these other cars that are $80 to $100 to fill up every time, it's a huge savings if you're like what we do with the X7, right? Like, I fill up the X7 every week, maybe even twice a week, and that's $150 a fill up. That's insane. Like how much money it is.
I have an Escalade right now because we're doing a technical video on the Super Cruise. I'm like regretting whenever I fill that thing up because it's so much fucking money.
Yeah.
For nothing.
You're literally burning money. And it's one thing when gas is cheap, but another thing when it's like you're like, why am I spending this much money? I'm not getting
it's not even that it's like necessarily like that I'm dreading it because I can't afford it. It's just like it feels wasteful.
No, it's because it's hitting your bottom line. Yeah. That's in America. That's the benefit we have, is like things are traditionally cheap, and people are like, oh, it's like other countries look at us like, dude, you look at how little you pay for gas or cars. You're like, why are you complaining? Yeah. And now that we're actually getting hit with a lot of these rising costs, it's like, oh man, I'm not paying that much. All of a sudden we care.
Kurt for $10. Thank you, Kurt, for your donation. Sorry if you've answered this before. How do you define good steering feel? We actually had a discussion off camera. Remember, I was messaging you about this. Define good steering feel.
Where it feels like the steering wheel is just connected to a video game, where I don't feel anything. I don't want to feel anything.
How do you define good steering feel?
So steering feel to me, you're probably going to say the same thing, is I want a car to communicate what's happening with grip levels on the front part of the car through the tires into the steering wheel, where I know how much grip or scrub is on the front tires. And I want to be able to feel through the steering wheel when that grip is disappearing.
But what does that feel like in the wheel?
It feels like a sudden load. It feels like the front end is loading up a weight. And then as the traction breaks, you feel a slip in the wheel, and then a weight come back as it's slipping and gripping with some subtle vibration. So if a tire is scrubbing, you'll feel that subtle vibration of the fact that the front end is going, or the fact that you have maximum grip and you can hold that angle.
Like in the Gen 1 NSX we drove
Yes.
without.
You can, and this is the thing we don't talk about, and it's hard to explain. This is something I talked to you, and then I talked to Karen about too. Is like you go through a turn, and you know the apex, you know how you're supposed to get through the turn. You should be through the turn like this. Essentially, one turn, one commitment through that entire turn. You shouldn't be doing
like
this.
turn 1 at Autobahn, which is not something I do all the time. Is one angle.
One angle, because that's what you do. But the problem with, you could do that a lot easier with older cars, and you can make subtle adjustments because you're feeling the grip level fall off and come back through the wheel. All the modern cars, that does not exist anymore. So
even in cars with good steering, modern cars,
there's no transmission of when that grip level is here or there. So the way you have to drive it is you have to pick the angle and make one turn, because as soon as you start moving that wheel, you don't even know if there's grip or not, and you're just wasting time. So it's, anyway, that's kind of geeky talk.
No, I think that's a fair question, because people are always like, what does good steering mean? I think certain cars, it's not to the level of the Gen 1 NSX, where the steering, I shit you not, is the best steering I've probably felt in a car that isn't like an Atom or something, or a Lotus.
Right.
And the Lotus does that as well. There is muted in comparison to the NSX, at least the Lotuses I've driven, which to be fair are just Savoras. But you feel something in the front wheel. It may not be the same, like, where it's actually moving the wheel, but you feel something. But I wonder how much of that is steering and also versus your ass, like what you feel in your butt.
Well, I think part of the steering feel is also because it's going through the wheel, you're feeling it through the body of the car as well. You can't like really isolate out the fact that you're having grip, and it's part of that whole body experience that's gone in many modern cars. I think the thing with the steering feel is it's almost impossible to get steering feel weight and to make a car good that way, and then to be street drivable. So like what you went through in the NSX, or you go through with an Elise or an Exige with a manual steering rack, it's fatiguing as hell to drive fast. Like if you don't have upper body strength, it's really hard to control that car, because it is literally loading up the rack, and to the point where your arm is like that. Your arm is part of that mechanism to control the tie rods and everything. So while it's connecting, it's fatiguing to drive, and it's not accessible to a vast majority of the people that can afford those cars. So that's why, a lot of these newer cars, there's no way you would dare put a manual rack in any of them.
The best modern EPS is in Porsche products, specifically in the GT products, because there's all this rigidity and lack of rubber bushings in the front ends. And then I will say, what makes good electronic power steering is a perfect linearity to your steering inputs. Like, you feel jack shit in the current generation G80 M3, but what I will say is the ratio is perfect. You know exactly mentally how much input to give when you're correcting a slide or turning in. You know mentally that your brain moves the wheel X, the car will turn X. You don't feel shit in the wheel, but it is doing something.
Right.
Versus like the X3M, where because it's got variable gear ratio steering, this versus this does not equal the same amount of turning. You know what I mean? Where it's like there's a ramp up effect. It's not a linear curve of turning.
See, I'm okay with that, and I think the one of the things that made the LC500, the performance pack, or whatever they call it now, it had a variable steering rack and the rear wheel steering. So they're trying to match the rates of the way that the rear wheels are turning with the variable gear ratio.
It felt normal.
It wasn't particularly normal because the car was so long. But but that's how you made it shrink down. So there was a great feel of how those two mechanical systems were working together to get that car to snap and to move in. That was good with the way that it was tuned, because it made a big car feel smaller, and it was still really enjoyable because you could chuck it through a corner.
But it didn't speak out to me that it was like, yes, it's not a perfect one-to-one in that car, but it didn't speak out to me in being weird. Like the X3M does it, and the 240i X-Drive thing did it.
Well, but that's partly because you don't have the rear steering effect. You have you can turn to here, and then the teeth change sizes. So when you're turning, that ratio is suddenly changing. So if you're expecting, okay, I'm going through the corner and I hit that point, and all of a sudden it speeds up and you turn in even faster without having the rear turning at the same time, it can create a weird effect. But this is one of the things. So you talk about steering feel. There is no steering feel, like physical load up in the wheel anymore, like the older cars with manual racks. That's gone. So how does it feel to actually turn the wheel and get it to do what that's what you're talking
Mhm.
about, is when you turn the wheel, it matches up to your brain and your inputs. That's how you determine what like good steering is. Does it feel natural?
Like the old 86, and I got this wrong in an Instagram comment, I guess. I get all the Subaru Rex confused in my brain. So the old 86, because the way the EPS rack was done, the motor and
It was in the column.
the controller were both.
They were like, they just moved the controller and the motor closer to the rack. It's not a rack mounted EPS
anymore.
And
Okay, that was the change.
But but they changed that in the other Subarus. They put the motor on the rack, and then the input shaft on the rack, and they put the motor on the other side.
That was the divorced rack. But anyway, what I was getting at is the old FRS had a little bit of something through the wheel.
There was far more load transmitted where you felt the load up effect in the wheel, like that.
The new car doesn't have that,
No, it
but
doesn't.
it's still perfectly linear in how you input things.
Yeah, that's a long discussion about steering.
Hey, you got your money's worth out of that answer, sir.
Yeah, that's geeky stuff.
Sorry if that put any of you guys to sleep. And no, hydraulic steering is not always better than EPS. That's the other thing I'm going to say. The Z is a good example of that. The 370Z is hydraulic steering. Yes, you got something out of the wheel, but it wasn't all of that precise or all that linear. The new Z, you get nothing out of the wheel, but you know exactly what to do with your hands every single time.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, shit. All right, we got 40 minutes to answer questions. I'm going to start powering through these, Mark.
All right.
Okay. And probably, Chin, say around like 6:40-ish, stop taking paid questions, because I'm not sure if we're going to be able to answer them. Or 6:45.
Yeah, so what you're going to do is, if you want to donate, obviously you can donate. I'm not going to stop you, because Jack's driving me crazy with all his
charcuterie boards.
His boards he's ordering to my house. So if you want to donate, go ahead. But if you're expecting to donate to get a question answered, you're really cutting it close here. So just plan on cutting it off in like 10 minutes, honestly.
And Chris, as well, if you see a lot of the same question over and over again, put it in the Discord for me so I can answer that. And we are going to release the Discord, and Chris will be the moderator for it.
Yes.
And it'll be for Patreon. And if it's a disaster, I'll blame Chris.
Yeah, so this is why I'm having Chris do it, because it's easier to
blame him. Yeah,
like that's the whole thing.
You learned just go back to living in the dumpster.
I got to get this name I learned today in one of my appointments, is like a way that it's like a technical term for when you set yourself up for all your failures. You can set yourself up to blame everybody else for the failures, and you never accept responsibility. It's something like amazing, and I can't remember it, but I'll get it before this live stream ends. It's a GM.
Yeah.
That wasn't, that was a supplier issue. That wasn't us. Come on.
Andrew Carbone. That's an amazing. $20. Thank you for that, Andrew. $40,000 to $50,000. Something that's fun, useful, wagon or SUV lease. So don't give me shit about long-term reliability. Do me.
Sorry.
$40,000 to $50,000. That's leased. That's a wagon or SUV that's fun. Oh fuck, wagon. If the Golf R is within the realm of being big enough for you, that would be a great lease car. Fun though. The SUVs for 40 to 50 grand, that's leased. What's fun?
That's leased, man.
That's hardly leased. He's leasing it.
God, what piles are out there that are fun to drive that are SUVs?
That are under $50,000.
RDX, is that even fun? Kind of.
Kind of. X3, sort of, not really.
If you can get them for that.
I don't know if you can get the 6-cylinder for that much money. Q5, you can. I know for a fact you can't get for that much money.
I would say, honestly, RDX.
If you want an SUV, but if you want like a hatchback or something,
RDX SH all-wheel drive, not the
Golf R. Probably
Golf R. Yeah, that's a good call.
Wagon.
XC40 recharge with the E all-wheel drive system that never works.
That would be real fun. Man, that one's hard for 40 to 50. Used SQ5 if you want an SUV.
What about the RAV4 Prime, where the back end just randomly oversteers?
Yeah,
just oversteers because the traction system's like, I don't know what's happening.
Be a Shun for $10.
Okay, so the phrase for when you set yourself up for where you're not to blame and you blame everybody else is attributional bias.
Just wanted to thank you guys for your hard work. Never miss a video. Daily Driver 21 1LE Camaro. Want to go find the right Fiesta ST to daily drive and save the Camaro for weekends. Any advice? Man. Well, if you're in the Midwest, don't buy one here. The Fiesta ST. He wants to daily drive one of those and save the Camaro for weekends.
What do you mean don't buy one here? Don't buy one from Illinois?
Yeah, because they'll be rotted out.
Oh, yeah. Don't buy anything from Illinois. By the way, Jack was talking trash about Florida. Go to Florida to buy a car. At least their cars are nice there.
Yeah.
Don't come to Illinois for anything that you want nice. That's for sure.
8th gen Civic would also be a cool car for like 10, 15 grand and fun. I know you hate the dash, but it's a cool car. K20 is
that
hilarious.
car. I could get one for, if I could get one for like 8 grand and then have King Motorsports put about 20 grand into the engine. So it would make 240 horsepower and make no power and torque, but it would sound like
you'd be okay with it?
Yeah, I'd be like, all right, now I'm the ultimate asshole.
Hazel Green for $5. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
I think you may have answered my question early, so I'll rewatch the recording through the part I missed. Keep up the good stuff.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hazel.
Thanks, everybody. Seriously.
Dan, thank you for the $10, and thanks for the kind words of saying keep up the great work. JW in HD, thank you for the $50 donations. Hey guys, I have an i40 M50 on order. I really enjoyed your guys' review. Most of the press annoyingly has been whether this car is an EV M3. Can you guys speak a little more in depth about how it compares to other M Sport models like the M340i?
Talking about the i4?
Yeah, the i4M. It's not as organic to drive as the M340i. I think the B58. We talked about it in the video.
Yeah. It's better in some ways because it's EV. And it's worse in some ways because it's EV, because there is a disconnect between the front and the rear that the regular cars don't have that problem with. They feel like, and it's partly the weight too. You have the weight to lug around in that thing. So dynamically, like what we were talking about, how the front and rear end of the car respond when you're turning in, like you do this in like the regular rear wheel drive 3 Series, you turn in, the back starts to rotate naturally, and it's like real smooth inputs to get it to do what you want. Your pedal pressure and all of that all match up. With the EV, you ramrod it in a corner, you hit the gas, like the front has power, and then there's a delay between which drive motor is powering what. So what you get is like a shunt in the front and then a kick in the back, and it feels like the car's going in 2 separate directions when you drive it hard. And that's where the EVs are really struggling right now, because there's no mechanical connection. It's software to turn on and off the motors, and that's not like hyper linear power delivery where it's natural. That's what I would say. It's not just the BMW. Like the GV60 we just drove is even like 25% more disconnected than that. And that's where you're going to see this first gen car really age poorly until they can get everything talking to each other.
Yeah, I think you'll really like the car. And I think some of our complaints really only exist if you're pushing them really, really hard, which, to be fair, it's not a real M car, so you're not going to be taken to the track. But the M340i, as far as like a regular-ish sedan, it's not regular, it's $60,000 or $50,000, is more normal feeling than your i50M will be. But there are lots of benefits to the EV powertrain, like speed, overall refinement, and rigidity to the body. Andrew Fernandez, thank you for the $2 donation. E-Train for $2. Savage Geese 2024, Mark. You can run against the other old dudes.
Yeah, so that's what's going to happen. I'm going to be like 65, and I can't get a corporate job anymore because I aged out.
You're going to run for
nobody cares what I say, because all the 20-year-olds are like, I don't even know what it's going to be. So the only thing I'll be left to do is run for local politics in a town with 500 people where I actually have a chance of winning because there's nobody else running, and then I'll take it from there and just.
It sounds like a great plan.
Come move to my town. I don't know what town. Oh, like what town should I take?
Gary, Indiana.
No, Gary's too big. That's a huge town. I'd have to, like I said, 500 people at
Lady Lake.
You can. No, that's huge too. It's got to be like Bottomsville or something. It's just horses and.
Juan, thank you for the 25 MX speeding for $20. How do you think the next generation of M cars and Porsches will perform as track vehicles once they become fully EV? Will they make gas-powered counterparts obsolete?
Yes and no. The
reason you're going to like gas cars is that you feel something and you hear something.
Yeah, it's the argument that I didn't have this with. Who did I have the argument with EV? About the Taycan. Calvin. So I'm like, I told him, you put fake engine noise or fake noise in an EV. It's not the same. They're trying to create that emotion. And it's not the same as like hearing and feeling the vibration and engine sound like from a Hellcat or something, or a V8 that has this sonic
And
presence.
pure EVs. So Porsche is using the Cayman as an EV race car. I sent you the video where it's Chris Harris.
Yeah.
That's real EV noise.
Right.
It sounds horrible.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, where you get a headache listening to it. I'll just put it this way. The best way to explain it is if sound wasn't important, we would not be listening to music. We wouldn't care about music, and we wouldn't care about like movies and all that stuff, because sound is really a part of the human experience. And I know that not everybody's blessed with hearing, but in terms of cars, the sound is really, it's been a part of it since cars have been online in the modern age, and that's going to be sorely missed, and you can't really replace it through synthesis.
Pan 46 for $5. Jack, you said you rode in both the regular GR Corolla and the Morizo GR Corolla. Is there a difference in driving dynamics substantial? Does the regular car understeer? I will tell you what the pro driver Freddie, I can't remember his full name, he's a drifter, told me about driving both. And I will say this to you guys as well. So I rode them both. One was on Cup 2s and the other one was on Pilot Super Sports, I think. So obviously there's a huge grip level between both. And that's the primary difference that I felt as a passenger. I was not the driver. The understeer question, the car understeers when it's in track mode a little bit because it's still an all-wheel drive car in 50/50. They said when the car was in sport mode, it's almost too oversteery, which is, to me, is a good thing to kind of hear that there is a little bit of playfulness, but they say it's ballistically fast for what it is. That's coming from the pro drivers.
So that's why you're getting one, and I'm getting a Civic Type R, and I'm going to show you the real Japanese engineering, Jack. Front wheel drive.
The
only.
Civic has too many cylinders, dude.
The thing is you know, we don't have to talk about, oh, is this car gonna oversteer? Is it sending enough power to the back? I don't have to worry about that with the Civic Type R. I just have to worry about all that power being sent to two premium wheels.
Puzzle Bunny for $5. Best and worst steering wheels you've used, not necessarily steering, but controls and textures on the hand.
I hate that Genesis wheel. That's all weird. Like on the GV80 or no, whatever the new 80s and then the 90
VW steering wheel for me. All the haptic bullshit.
Oh yeah. That, from a usability standpoint, that's the worst. The new Lexus one where they have the touch D-pad. Yeah, I know some people really hate that. I get it. I kind of like it, but it's not good. But that's far from the worst.
Juan R MX25. Juan R. Thank you for the $25 donation. Sean Smith, thank you for the $2 donation, and thank you for saying keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Logan for $10 just took delivery of my Mach 1 6-speed manual in eruption green. Gotta love that.
That sounds like an STD.
With the handling pack last week after waiting 13 months.
Oh my God.
First Mustang, first V8. Come drive it. Much love from Denver. We are doing a Mach 1 video this summer, allegedly.
The Mach 1, I'm really looking forward to that one.
Because hopefully it's like the GT350.
It should be everything that you could possibly want from a Mustang with reliability. And better because it's got the GT350 or the Tremec gearbox too, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sean Smith, ever thought of doing a video on the last gen C63 507? Rented one on Turo. The 6.3 was very special. Massive seat bolsters. I've driven one on track, actually. They're great cars.
Which car was that?
The last gen C63, the one with the twin turbo V8. That thing's a fucking missile. It's a cool car. We haven't been offered one, and it's.
I can imagine. I don't remember driving. I don't think I did, but I can just imagine that it's like a muscle car. Yeah.
I said one of Shane's buddies from Face Garage had one. I drove it at RPM before the track got all fucked up. That thing's hilarious.
Okay.
I think the base ones were open.
Oh, is that the one that once slid off the road? Like it spun out there a couple times?
No, that was that was the old C63.
Oh,
this was the new one. Sean Smith. No, I just answered that one. Ken for $2. Unaffordable comment. 6 Gen SI matters. Just send it.
6 Gen SI.
Yeah, that's the 2.4, wasn't it?
No, that was the 1.6. That's the one we drove.
No, sorry, 9th Gen SI. My bad.
Oh, 9th Gen. Yeah. That's when they switched to 2.4.
I had a roommate who owned one in college. Ed Camden, thank you for the $10. Thelonious Monk, that is a premium name, for $20.
Thank you.
Costs to the environment to make EVs seem to be a lot more than ICE cars. When in an EV's life cycle, does it truly make up for all that pollution? Will tech make them obsolete before they get to that point? Thanks for the vids.
We've had this conversation before, and it's a real sticky one because when I first started doing these videos, I reached out to multiple manufacturers to say, can you provide me the supply chain and all the parts that come from all the suppliers to do battery tech, electric motors, and all that? None of them could provide me that information because it's so complicated and proprietary for them to actually tell us how these things are made. So with that understanding, there's no possible way that you can really gauge all the materials and all the costs, because if you have so many different suppliers working on it, it's impossible for us to really disseminate what goes into it. I will say they're making strides on like getting near the point of having minimal amounts of cobalt in lithium batteries.
Almost 100% recyclability to the battery packs and the new Lyric, according to the foremost expert on electrification for GMs, that they're basically entirely recyclable.
Okay. So I think we're going to get to that place where they're going to figure out by necessity, because supply and demand, supply is going to be so tight based on demand, right? If they're really trying to make this work by like 2030, and especially countries that are banning ICE, I think they're going to be in for a rude awakening, the fact that there's not going to be enough battery supply to make all these cars. So that's going to delay everything anyway. But you have manufacturers like BMW, you have manufacturers like Toyota, you have Mercedes talking about carbon neutrality, like literally getting to a place where, they're offsetting a lot of this manufacturing and trying to go clean. And a lot of some of it's just pure marketing bullshit. But it's going to take a long time. So you can't just go overnight and switch from internal combustion to electric and just everything's fine. You're going to have to get rid of that over a long period of time. And I think eventually, as technology picks up, it could be much cleaner. But then you have the problem, depending on what country you're in, with the power grid, which we're already experiencing. It's bad here for EVs already, but we don't have charging infrastructure, and the charging infrastructure we have that's bad. Most of our state, where we're at, is nuclear power, but that can't get funded. They're having problems funding it. It's hyper expensive. They haven't been updated. Well, they haven't been built anything since the 70s. There's the power grid problem is a whole separate story. And it's part of this big conversation that you're not going to get a lot of straight answers from the manufacturers or the brand reps and the engineers to really tell you the numbers compared. And I don't have the energy to try to chase all that down anymore. So that's a long answer to something that I didn't give you a straight answer.
All right.
Sorry,
I'll try to speed through these.
Sorry.
Oh, no worries. I mean, he deserves a real answer. Mohammed Hassan, any thoughts? Thank you for the $5.
Thank you.
Thoughts on the future of Tesla and Elon after he fired 200 autonomous driving engineers?
That company, it's hard. I think what that company is going to have to do is put Elon out to pasture. I'll be honest, or put him in a different role, because he's basically going to start to get in the way of growth.
Based on my understanding, talking to some of the engineers who work at that company, he does already get in the way.
Okay, so but to an even more extreme element, there's a downward cycle, it doesn't really matter to him, honestly, what happens to that company, because he's all over the place. In the interviews, he said plainly, and a lot of people talk about him, the most effective leaders are those that there was a PayPal engineer that was talking about him, and he said Elon was great because he was a guy that was not one-track minded. He had to be dealing with so many things at once, but at the level that he's at, he's becoming ineffective at doing what he's good at, because 1 week he cares about Tesla and he's talking about, the next week he's over talking about Instagram or social media. It's a distraction to Tesla as a brand. So I don't know what they do, but the big thing is if they don't make a change fast, as all these other companies come online, big car companies that know what they're doing.
Their autonomous driving in comparison to GM Super Cruise is a fucking joke right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been telling him this all the time. Super Cruise, in the Escalades at least, is amazing in comparison to what the autopilot is. The autopilot that we had on the Model 3 was horrifying.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah. And again, it's not so much that Tesla is bad or good. It's just they are at a severe disadvantage as competition catches up. When they catch up and start chewing into their products,
I don't see Tesla surviving.
I don't know what they do. And if Elon keeps spooking away investors or becomes less of a magic man and they don't have the influx of cash, they're in a lot of trouble. And I think a lot of companies are going to see this, though. It's not just Tesla. You're going to see a lot of headcount cutting all over the place as the economy like shifts around. So I don't want to just say they're done, but they got some work to do for sure.
Let me get back to all of this fun stuff. Ed Camden, do you still think the current ES350 is the best premium middle class family fancy sedan for newly married couple? Thank you for Ed for the $10, by the way. In their early 40s, at least 7 to 10 years until EVs are.
Yes, I'll make a straight answer. It's that good. It's a zero worry car that does almost everything as good as you could possibly ask, like a basic luxury car and a functional appliance while feeling special at the same time.
Chris for $7 Canadian. Thanks, Chris. Do you think we'll see a new generation of Miata soon? Hopefully before everything goes electric. Nope.
I don't think so, unless they're hiding something. But when we did our stuff, we were told that wasn't being developed yet. They had not even started work or talk of development. So unless they pulled something out of their hat that we don't know about.
Andrew Bordeaux. Andrew, that is a tremendous last name. Thank you for the $20. As a Patagonia-wearing 30-something Asian living in the Midwest who likes reviews filled with adolescent humor, tech detail, and presentation value, I feel like I am the epitome of the target demographic. Good stuff. Well, you are. Actually, focus group, just people like that.
You only focus group Patagonia people?
Patagonia, half Asian, tech-obsessed, 30-something.
You want to know why Patagonia makes so much money? It's because Jack buys all the analytic data from all the social media platforms to find out who's buying Patagonia, who's searching it, and then he just targets all those people. Like, the reason you found us is because Jack basically paid to find you.
Exactly. Carmelo, thank you for the $10. Mitch A for $5. Sold my manual C6 Z51, trading in my 21 Wrangler as well on an M240i when it comes in for Michigan winters. Good compromise moving to one car? Yes, it's a great car. I think you'll really like it. It's a good combo of, it'll probably honestly be faster than the C6. And I like the Wrangler and I don't at the same time. Agree?
Yes.
Blaine for $5. You said Porsche employees seem to have genuine passion and a couple other brands. What are the other brands? Toyota and Mazda.
Toyota, Mazda, yeah.
And some of the GM engineers that I've met.
I mean, is it brands as a whole? Full representation, what do you think it is?
Toyota, Mazda.
Toyota, Mazda.
Porsche. VW, too. Our specific VW reps that we've dealt with are amazing.
I would agree with part of that, but holistically as a brand.
Sure,
no.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm talking about full scope, not just like individuals you like.
Porsche and Mazda. The problem Toyota has here in the US, and I will say Honda too.
Yeah.
Honda, our reps at Honda are great, and they will do their damnedest to get information.
Right.
So, all right, the Japanese car companies basically.
But that doesn't mean that the other companies are bad. I don't want to throw people under the bus either, because obviously we have to walk a fine line with this. But some of the companies that are not good is because they're not effective because they run too lean. Subaru is one of those that runs very lean, and everybody knows that it's not.
The Subaru guys are great to work with.
They're great to work with, but they don't have a lot of resources. The other company that has a big hard time is like Genesis as a brand.
Yeah, Jared is like what? No, now they have two dudes.
Oh, they do have two, but basically they had one guy for all of North America essentially for like 2 years or like and you can't run a brand that way. I'm sorry. So it's more indicative of like resources, time that these companies have, and you can tell the well-established brands they're well-oiled. Porsche does not have a lot of people, but the people they have are highly, highly effective. They know how to run a small team.
Purposely limit. They are very strict gatekeepers.
Yeah. But they have to be. So that's a great example of, know your strengths, pick the people you want to work with, and harbor those relationships, and stick with that. You don't need to this whole concept of like what Ford and GM do,
where everyone in the world gets a car.
Let's just bring in everybody. You bring people in off the streets, fucking anybody, and then you have a lot of dead weight. This is the old way of doing stuff. Dead weight. People that don't pull their weight, don't provide any value. Whereas the smaller companies can cater and harbor that and know what works and what doesn't and be more selective. And it's better that way. And you get better treatment. You get more information. You get more focused information. And they actually can control their PR and media a bit better.
And even if we don't necessarily agree with their reps, at least they offer valid counterpoints. Hopefully that answers that. Rob for 1,000 yen. Guys, 991. I think.
Thank you.
Thank you, by the way. Guys, 991.2 GT3 Touring or 992 GT3 Touring. Also, would you get a Turbo S over a GT3 for everyday use?
Okay, so 992 beats every gen for me.
Okay.
Okay, just because of the suspension, the front suspension. If you're
Would you get a GT3 992 or a Turbo S?
If all you're doing is driving on the street, the Turbo S will make you far more happy. Honestly, it's more of a, you have the wow factor of the handling and all the stuff that goes along with the speed. It's a great car. It's hyper expensive. But if you want this more special experience that GT3 is, that you're just going to the only thing you're going to sacrifice is harshness in terms of like ride quality, and just there's a lot more buzziness, a lot more going on inside the cabin, but that's also part of its charm.
And the motor's more special.
The motor is way more special. Not as fast, but way more special.
In both gearboxes, the 8-speed dual clutch is not as special. 8-speed PDK is not as special as a 7-speed PDK. It's something about the ratios and the way it interacts with the engine.
I think that, like I said, the PDKs and the GT cars are way, like, just the tuning is better.
991.2 GT3 versus 992 if you like GT3s. 991.2 is a softer car on the street. I think the limits are lower. It's a smaller car. I prefer the way it looks. Mark can't tell the difference for some reason.
They all look the same to me. I just care about the way they drive. The interior is far better in the 992, and the front end of the GT3 is a night and day difference. That's all. That's really
the
all.
991.2 sounds better though.
Barely.
But yeah.
Barely. You're splitting hairs.
Gage Morgan for $5. Just recently picked up a 22 GTI-S. Other than tires, what would you recommend as the first performance part upgrade for my driving enjoyment? Brake pads and fluid.
Yeah, for sure. Tires, brake tires, brake pads, and fluid. Easy.
I wouldn't touch anything else on that car. Maybe a rear sway bar if you want it to be a little bit more oversteery.
Or just take the front sway bar off.
Yeah, I don't know what
for free.
Yeah. Oldie for $5. Oldie Deuce for $5. Have you ever planned on making your audiographs available on a database? We should do that.
I've wanted to do that, and this is just my fault. I could have blamed somebody else and done whatever quote I had earlier. The reason why is because I was supposed to switch over the website to an Australian was helping me. He was a viewer, and he was very, very helpful, and I just have not had time to follow through on all that. I do need to get a database-driven site where I can actually store those and make them searchable, and I haven't done it. But yes, that's a long-term project.
May need to sell my Payton for $5. May need to sell my C6 manual Grand Sport. Is there a better, reliable rear-wheel drive driver's car for less than 40 grand? Not a daily, care most about raw experience. Miata and GR86.
Yep.
For under 40 grand. Reliable.
Rear-wheel drive, right?
Rear-wheel drive.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, raw, and he wants raw. Mustang isn't necessarily that raw.
No, you got to go up to the high-end stuff.
So yeah, Miata and GR86.
And even the Miata's not really all that raw. I mean, with the stock suspension, you have to do work. On both those cars, you have to do work. That was the point earlier. Like, cars are not like they used to be, where God, I sound so old saying this, but those older cars, because they were more shit boxes, they had more feel to them. And all the new cars have to be so overly refined that even though they're the most raw cars that you can get, they're still not raw enough. You know, you have to make changes.
David Benz, thank you for the $5. Senor Filet Scott, thank you for the $50 donation.
Thank you.
Optimus 30 for $5. Have a 2016 BRZ, want fun sub $15,000 car, can haul a few people, would a Focus ST work, would love a Speed 3, tough to find a good one. Thanks, guys.
A Focus ST?
Yeah, for under 15 grand. That's a fine car.
Can you find one for under 15?
I have no idea.
That's not a turd?
I have no idea.
Well, if you can, I think you'll really like it. To me, that's a car, again, that needs suspension work. Like, but I guess if you're getting it cheap enough, you can get and I'm not talking about like, you know, $1,500 coilovers. I'm talking about like $2,500.
8th Gen SI.
Yeah.
The Focus ST. Fiesta ST is too small. What else is kind of a fun sub $15,000 car? I mean, those are the two that come to the top of my list with 4 doors. I wouldn't get a Subaru with a 10-foot pole at that price point.
I don't agree with you on that. I saw the hatch STI today in purple,
yeah, you ain't getting one for 15 grand.
Well, that's
like a 30 grand car now.
That's true. Sorry,
$15,000 Subaru is like a vaped out.
Yeah, like something
box.
Like third total, like been totaled for the third time.
Juice Springsteen for $5. Best EV shitbox for the wife that won't make me feel like an NPC. EV6, Ionic 5, Tesla ID4, or some other poorly named shitbox.
Ionic 5 is the coolest, by far the best cheap, and that's not cheap either. But you'll feel like you'll want to drive that car. I promise you. If you like the way that it looks, otherwise, then go EV6.
Ionic 5 or Lyric. Those are my two favorite.
Okay.
He hasn't driven the Lyric yet.
I haven't driven the Lyric, and I have the I need to drive it, but I have my biases towards it already. I looked at Jack's like, man, it looks good, and I see the picture. I'm like, looks like a fucking Malibu Max. It does not look good to me. I'm sorry, but then again, I have not seen it in person. I've not driven it, so it's like I'm prejudging it. So maybe it's great.
I mean, it's not a perfect car. In retrospect, there's some things I don't like about the interior, but I like that they attempted to try. I hate all the fucking plastic chrome bullshit on the interior, but the Cadillac. Joseph, will we see? Joseph, thank you for the $10, by the way. Will we see the Arby's mukbang or Savage Geese undercover at Street Takeover?
I've already been at Street Takeover. I've been taking over streets for the past 20 years, but for the event, are you kidding me? I run that event.
William Parker for $5.
No, you will not see our Arby's representation there. They don't sponsor that.
William Parker for $5. What motivated you to buy an X7 over something like the Macan GTS or something similar? Was it the size or the power plant?
It's the size. It's the 3-row part of it. And the XC90 really had an amazing rear hatch. That rear storage space was enormous for what it was without going to like a minivan. The X7 was less, but very similar with a much better drivetrain. If I didn't need that space, I would 100% be in a Cayenne. 100%.
This person has a tremendous name, Cat Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
For $10, trade in my LC500 convertible for a Boxster 4-liter GTS. I'm old and I take road trips.
Yeah.
So I need comfort. But I want sportiness. I want more sportiness than the LC. I'll get the Porsche, dude. It's a way better car than the LC500 convertible specifically.
Yes. If you're coming from a convertible LC, there's some really great. It's not going to be as comfortable as LC convertible.
Not even remotely close.
No. So you're taking probably a 50% reduction in comfort for 190% improvement in drivability.
And the Porsches are either very reliable or you're Nick Murray and they're not reliable.
Well, I know there's other people that have problems with them, but I mean, it's not like it used to be.
Neil A for $2. Coming from a Type R versus Corolla GR thoughts and expectations. I bet you the Type R is faster than the Corolla.
Oh, it better be. It's got an extra cylinder. We're talking like this is where we're arguing 3 cylinders now. And
if I still somehow have the C7 Grand Sport, I'm going to love having both of those cars, a 1.6 liter and a 6.2 at the same time.
I bet you they're going to be faster than your Grand Sport when I get behind the wheel.
Yeah, as you jump it off Autobahn.
Yeah.
I wonder how much money it would take to get one. So like the Grand Sport around South runs a well, I'm not the world's greatest driver by any means, but with me behind the wheel, I can turn like a 133 around South.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's Britt Casey's dad's GT4 race car. You know what they ran? I think it was like a 128 or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's fucking moving.
Yeah, well, that's a GT4 though.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, that was kind of a weird segue there. Driver SL for $10. What cars do you two own and what's next? I just sold my Z28 for $1 zillion US on BAT.
Oh, wow. Z28 sold it?
Yeah.
Man. I wonder how much it really made.
Probably a lot. Those cars were worthless for a long time. It was
like, what, 90 grand maybe he made?
I have no idea. He probably did really well. It's a cool car. What do you own now, Mark?
X7, S2000. That's it, right? Yeah, for me.
Yeah, and your girlfriend has a RAV4. My girlfriend has a RAV4 as well, and I have a GR86 and a C7 Grand Sport.
Yep.
There's
your
answer.
That's probably going to get consolidated for me. Like, unless something changes, it's going to get reduced probably even further. I'm not driving the S2000 anymore. I am driving it, but not on the track anymore. So I'm going to stuff that. If money was okay, I would try to find an NSX or a GT3. Those are about the only 2 cars that I would consider at this point. If not, I'm getting rid of the X7 and going to Sienna and then really going downhill from there. I can plan for my retirement.
Joseph, thank you for the $5. Jeremy, thanks for the $10. Thank you guys for the quality in-depth reviews. Big reason I got my S2000 was your tribute video. Question is, if you could only have one car for the rest of your life, what would it be? GT3. I would make every consolidation in the world if I could just only own a GT3.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. I'd probably mirror that. And if I had if money was not an option, maybe like a 458 or an LFA for the same reasons of the GT3, just more money.
I would love to have the only LFA in the world with 400,000 miles.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, so the S2000, just briefly, like how much time do we have left? 5 minutes. How many questions do we have?
A lot.
We're going to be doing a video on the NSX, the first gen one, and
992 GT3. If anyone's
yeah, I agree with that. We're going to be doing a first gen NSX video, and the new one is going to sneak in there too as a part of it. But the goal is to have something that nobody's ever done before, and basically a closeout to that era, in a way that again is probably going to be very long lasting. And part of my goal is to go back a little bit and finish the S2000 project with the resources that I'm going to finally have. Hopefully this is going to pan out, and I'll be able to close out the S2000 era as well with the NSX, like separate videos, and bow out of those. And I think people will really, really find them special. I just hope that it all works out the way it's supposed to.
Going back to the questions, and again, hopefully you guys get some value out of this. I'm really trying to answer all your questions, and hopefully you can get your burning questions that you've always wanted to ask us answered in these things. That's why we do it. Jeremy, I just answered Jeremy's question. I apologize. Bing bigger, Evo or STI?
Down there. That's what I meant. Can you sort by that?
Yeah.
Well, again, Evo, if you really, really like, I think it was always more considered the circuit car. So that's why, like, if it like the track car, whereas the STI is like the all-arounder. So if you don't like tear up the tracks, then the STI.
Dan Knowles, again, thank you as always for your donation.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks for the $10. Love the Hawaii. Love the Savage Geese Hawaiian Eye adventures of note, the superiority of the 914 clearly evident as the greatest Porsche ever. Thanks.
This 914 was good. We screwed that, or I screwed the video up, Dan. Like, that car was supposed to be talked about more, but we didn't know what we were supposed to do.
And the fact that we had the 6-cylinder one was neat. It was the hardest one to drive, though.
It was the hardest one to drive, but it was also the most engaging car to drive. But the Speedster, really, because we had the most footage of it.
And it was really cool.
And it was nice. Still, weather was still out. That's why we focused on that. But you're a lucky man with the
914.
The 914, the numbers. I was thinking 928, but no, 914.
Dan has a 918, actually. He's got $1 million Porsche.
Oh, yeah.
Seth Hale for $5. New M2 or Civic Type R?
Like new Civic Type R?
No, current one. M2 or Civic Type R over 5 years?
Well, I guess M2 because it's rear-wheel drive.
M2.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. That's kind of a stupid answer.
I like the M2 a lot. I think it's a cool car.
I don't like the M2 at all. I think I hate that car.
Drive both. Determine what you'll like. But
I mean, personally, I would buy the new CTR, the new Civic CTR the Type R over that, just because I think I can flip that car, or like people would still want it. Whereas the M2, actually, no, they'll probably want them both. Anyway, go on.
All right, I'm going to speed through these. We're going to go 5 minutes over our 10 o'clock cut off to get through these questions.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for being patient, everybody, as well.
Joseph, thank you, Joseph, for the $5. Looking at 2018 S4s, would you take a fully loaded non-CPO or a lightly optioned S4? Get one. Don't get one without a warranty.
Right, CPO.
Yeah, whatever you do, just get one with a warranty. Even if it means you can't get the options you want, get one with a warranty.
Yeah, because you'll enjoy it more when you're driving if you really want to drive it hard.
Spartan for $10. Since you rode in the GR Corolla, would you recommend a GR Corolla or ND2 Miata in terms of street enjoyment? It's hard, man. I rode in one as a passenger on a racetrack.
Yeah.
For like 4 laps total. I can't really answer that one.
Yeah, it's not going to tell you what it's like on a
Wait
street.
till August after we do the drive, and then I will do my best to give you a real answer. Joseph, thank you for the $5. Kevin, thank you for the $6.98. Matthew, thank you for the $5.
Yeah, thank you.
Thoughts on a budget E30 is a fun car to learn to drive with. If you like wrenching, it's a cool car. E30 BMW, the old box
Yeah.
A one.
Yeah, didn't you do that?
I had an E36.
Oh, I don't know the numbers. Yeah, but it's the same mentality,
Yeah.
right? Same thing. Yeah, if you like wrenching and you really want to get engrossed into that, that's a great car to do it on.
The Noodles for $5. Hey guys, I bought an Elantra and DCT a few weeks ago, in part because of your review. First performance vehicle I've owned, and I absolutely love it. Congrats, dude.
Yeah, that's an amazing first performance car to drive or own.
Adrian, thank you for the $10. Cross shopping question: does an M340i do anything better than a Taycan? I'm wondering whether the M340i is special enough to ditch my existing car for it, or I should keep saving for a Taycan. I wouldn't get a Taycan if you're saving for it, because I think it's a here and now product.
Yeah, agreed. I would not go outside your budget for a Taycan. It's a great car, but it's not like
it's the best driving EV. But in 5 years,
yeah, it's going to be completely forgettable in terms of that once it gets improved. So yeah, I mean, you get a lot from the BMW because it was about the BMW, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're getting a lot for that.
Rudy, thank you for the $10. Love both of your reviews, especially when Jack goes, "Oh yeah," when launching cars. 2018 Macan S or S5. Weird comparison. Would you have an S5 or Macan S? I actually think the Macan S drives better, dude.
It does. It does.
I shouldn't say that a fast SUV drives better than an S5, but
the S5 is like, the thing with the S5 is it's like slick. It's smooth and slick, whereas the Macan is kind of like, it's got the kind of the personality of the 718 a little bit, like with a sports car like snappiness, because it is.
But yeah, it feels like the Macan S feels like a big hot hatchback.
Yeah. But you're right. So if you want more of like a luxury cruiser, the S is going to be way better for you.
In Cahoots for $10. Thank you, by the way, for the $10. You guys will be happy to know I recently sold my 06 Xterra 4x4 manual for $7,000. I originally paid $5,000 6 years ago, and I live in Milwaukee. That's how crazy the current market is.
That's nuts.
I would love to have seen what that Xterra looked underneath.
Oh my god!
Looked like underneath from Milwaukee. Yeah. VM, thank you for the $10. Alphabach Broccoli for 1967. Thank you for your 522.
Thank you, sir.
I always appreciate your Instagram.
We always love you, sir.
How do you get excited or even just stay interested in daily driving on boring, flat, straight roads with severe penalties for excess speeding?
I'll tell you what I do. I just turn the wheel hard randomly in traffic. I'll do a U-turn for no reason. It is hard. It really is.
Turn your brain off now most of the time.
I think some of it is the fact that we actually do go to the track enough. Not like we don't live there, but like let's say we have a week or 2 weeks of the month where we have to go to the track.
It makes up for it.
It makes up because you can blow like a half day or a day driving these different cars, and you're like, okay, I got it out of my system. For me, it's different now. I need to get back into wheel-to-wheel like karting. Because every year that you stop doing it, you lose your spatial awareness. You lose your ability to like decision make behind the wheel quickly. And to me, I lose so much. And like when we go out on the track and I'm just driving, there's nothing to set myself. Like a time means nothing to me anymore.
Long block for $2. You guys revisited hiring people to help out. We're probably going to revisit that around December. Kind of sign for $5. I'm in debt and must run hedge clippings in the Sonola Homeowners Association. What car is most inconspicuous to law while remaining fun?
Malibu Max SS. Oh man, I don't know what an inconspicuous fun car is.
New SI literally looks like a Civic.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's that's pretty normal. Like, what about the Accord 2-liter manual?
That's a good one too. If you get
that's like super sleeper, and I mean, it's probably really hard to find.
Prince, it's nice to see you came back from the dead. Thanks for the $5 Canadian.
Thank you.
GV60 review is incoming. Yes, it comes out this Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday's video.
Sergey, thank you for the $10. How do you guys feel about Chinese cars like Fa, Geely, Neo, and Lightspeed and Neo? Seem like they've come at light speed difference in just 5 years.
Well, we don't really have any of them here, right? We don't have any Chinese companies.
You did. You had a Volvo.
Yeah, but that wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, but
time.
I mean, it wasn't a Volvo product at that point. So I mean, I guess we've done XC40 and XC or whatever the other one, C40, which are made in China, or I think ours were. But that's still, it's got some Volvo parts to it, so I can't really say.
Logan for $5. If you had regular office jobs, what daily under 45 grand sedan would you buy that's comfortable, reliable, and a normal old man car with some enthusiast qualities for under 45 grand?
You got to answer that one.
TLX, that's got some enthusiast qualities. 3 Series has got some enthusiast qualities for under 45 grand. IS has got some enthusiast qualities.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I'd probably agree with you on the TLX. I mean, it's kind of like not special, but it is. Yeah, I would say that, or the 3 Series, because you can always. Can you get a manual in a 3 Series now? Or did they kill that?
No, they killed that a long time ago. You can't get a manual in a 3 Series instead of an M3.
God, it's a sad place to be, man. There's not a lot of fun stuff.
MBIS Frenchie, $5. Do you ever have a dealer harass you and not take no for an answer?
Yeah, when I was younger. Like I had a dude when I was going to trade in the S2000 for a Accord V6 manual coupe, and I didn't.
Shit.
But the dealer would not let me go. They brought out 3 dudes. They stood over me and said, holding out their hands to shake as a deal. And when I didn't shake their hand, they told me that they didn't think I was man enough to buy this car, that they thought I was weak and that I was wasting their time. And that if I didn't buy this car, they would basically kick my ass out of there. It was so abusive. And I just couldn't believe it was happening.
VM for $10. Moved to Miami from Mother Russia in 2020. At the moment, I have a GX 460, but considering buying a new diesel Suburban. Why this truck is so rear the United States? In other world, big SUV and diesel are a must-have. Oh, why is it so rare? Because diesels are, here in the US, expensive to run and operate. The break even from gas mileage to the additional cost of the diesel to service costs, you get more mileage, but
it's market. So the more straight answer is we don't have a lot of diesel offerings here. So there's no like option. The only option for diesels now are pickup trucks, and even that's getting axed. So when your petrol cars are better and your options are better, because our 4 cylinders are bigger here too. That's the other thing. Like the European counterparts get like tiny ass 4 cylinders with no power, whereas we're getting like the turbocharged bigger displacement engines. So there's no point of having the diesels, and it's just a cultural thing.
Hafid for $10. Love what you do. How do you handle the delicate dance of being objective and also grateful to companies that fly you out? I've noticed some YouTubers are becoming shills.
So the best way to do it is to involve the OEM, to involve the company that's making the car, having them understand what your goal is, and getting them, if it's a controversial car like the Integra, get them to explain their side of the story and try to be as objective as you can about what it is from their perspective, and letting the viewers decide as you explain the pros and the cons of the car. That's really the way that I look at it now. Now, there are certain piles that are just junk, and I typically won't go to those events. I've told Jack it's not worth me traveling to essentially make no money, not give them any return.
All right, we'll move on from there. GS, thank you for the $5. Purchased a 2015 Accord V6 6-speed. Should I do anything to it?
Front camber bolts.
Chris Rudzinski.
I'm sorry, front upper. If it's the one that was double wishbone. Oh, that was when I think they switched over to strut.
They had, no, it was a 2015, so it's the last one. They just did the coupe with the V6.
Yeah, but they switched over to strut from double wishbone.
Oh yeah, and that was like in the middle. It wasn't the 20.
No, that was, I think the last one was 2010, and then they switched to strut after that. So the upper A arms you can replace on the old ones with double wishbone. The new ones you have to do camber bolts or a plate at the top. If you get a lot more camber in the front of that car, it is so much better to drive. It doesn't like give you the one wheel peel and all that bullshit.
Chris Rudzinski, how do I buy a car out of state? I can't find a place to do a PPI. How do you guys set up and find a place to do a PPI?
That's tough. If you're out of state, you're
pretty much SOL.
You got to find somebody that like an independent shop that will do it for you, but you're going to be paying a lot. Like they're talking about just looking underneath or checking to see if there's any problems with it. And then you need, like, depending on the car, like if you have a shop that doesn't work on that car, how are they going to know what to look for?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You almost have to, if it's a specialty car, you're going to have to become a functional expert, go out there and inspect it yourself. Otherwise, find online somebody that's really good that knows about those specific cars and try to get them to get involved somehow. And that's a stretch. It's a lot of work.
Soy for $10, looking for a
Thank you.
comfortable MPC car for winter driving. Thinking a top trim Subaru Forester. What other options would you recommend around that price range?
CX-5.
CX-5. I would get a CX-5 over Forester. Alex Poto J. Thank you for the $5.
Thank
Sorry
you.
for butchering your last name. I'm donating the value of 1 depreciation piano black bullion. Really enjoy the content and appreciate the effort you guys put into your videos. Neo for $20. Thanks, Alex, by the way.
Thank you.
Honda Accord Hybrid in 2023.
Is there one?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Would you buy a Honda Accord Hybrid?
I would not.
There you go.
I would not really buy any Honda or any modern, like current gen hybrid Honda at this point.
I wouldn't either.
I'm sorry. I would just go straight to Toyota for an appliance.
The Accord 2-liter, though, is great.
Yes.
John Mozesti, 569, single guy, dog, plus mountain bikes. Go most places with me. Love driving. Also, wind up on dirt lots. What's out there for me under 50 grand? RAV4, CX-50. Oh, he loves driving. Runs up on Subaru WRX.
Could, yeah. I mean, that's a great driving car.
That's what I mean. Faux rally car. Golf R.
Golf R, yeah. All-wheel drive. Good all-wheel drive system. Fun to drive.
1337 pudding for $5. GR Corolla impressions. I don't know, man. I didn't drive it. I just rode in it. It's hard to make any. You find out in August. That's when the drives are supposed to be, allegedly.
It should be a fun raw car that is like less shitbox than some of the old, like the Fist. It'll be like that, elevated, more modern, more edgy. Probably the edgiest Toyota hatch that they've ever made. It'll probably be really good. I'm sure it's good.
No Degree for $25. What's your take on the Mazda 2.5 turbo head casting failures?
I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on it, honestly. I mean, I don't know how many units did it affect.
I have no idea.
Because I remember hearing about it, but I didn't see how many it had actually affected. Was it all of it?
I have no idea. I've been kind of out of the loop in the Mazda thing since we haven't done it.
Because they really, really were solid. And the 2-liters were hyper solid for a while. So if there's like more.
Clarissa for $10. I'm going to a trip to Vegas soon. I can rent either a 2015 911S for $179 or a 2019 911 for $289. Save the $100 and just get the 2015. You're not living with it. You have a naturally aspirated motor. It's a worse car, but it's $100 a day.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to be able to tell. I mean, you'll be able to tell a difference, but if you don't drive both, you don't know what you're missing. Scooby-Roo, can you get off the technical talks and hit me with some quick, hot quirks and features already? Man, I'm sorry. Senior Knit. Oh, and thank you for the donation, by the way, Scooby-Roo. Are you looking up the technical failures?
Yeah.
I'm going to do like 5 more questions because we're already 10 minutes
It's
away.
like related to blown head gaskets and stuff. That's something that we would have to ask Mazda, honestly. Like, I'm sure they would tell us, like...
How about we bring that up in our CX-50 video when we do it?
Yeah. We'll talk to Mazda about it and see how big of an issue it is. Because sometimes online, like, you get a mixed bag of, like, people making it into the end of the world. And then it obviously is a real issue. We just don't know how many units it affects.
Senior Nips for $20. 2023 Nissan Z or manual Supra. We do a comparison test in a couple weeks. So
yeah. Well, for sure.
We'll answer that question then because I haven't driven them both back to back. Hafid for $20. On the 23 C43 AMG launch, German host asked the engineer why they're doing so many screens, piano black, caps, buttons, if it was for the cost savings. They said no, it actually costs more. So he then asked, why do it? He didn't get an answer. I've been told from suppliers it costs less to do touchscreens.
Well, not touchscreens. The haptics, because you're removing the physical buttons and controls, which are more expensive to manufacture than just a single like touch membrane and a plane that has nothing really mechanical to it.
Paul, thank you for the $10. Jesse's asking, Because of our Blackwing CT4 video, he bought one. What's a good track day tire for one? RS4s, Rival S's.
And then the Yokohama. Well, that's hardcore.
The Falcon is a good one too.
Yeah, the Falcon is a good one.
The 615.
Is it 660?
660s.
60s, yeah. Those are like, as you get into the 200 treadwear tires, it gets a lot more hardcore. So just be aware, like if you want something that wears like steel, like Jack says, the RS4s are like incredible for that. They're just not the super sticky tire, but they last a long time.
We're almost done actually. Landlubber for $10. Who wins in a fight? A duck-sized M1 Abrams or a tank-sized Toyota Echo?
Tank-sized Toyota Echo, because of the gauge cluster.
That could take out a,
because you have more visibility because the gauge cluster is right in the center.
So you could beat an M1 Abrams that's duck-sized?
Yeah, because they would never be able to get you.
Chris Jones, thank you for the $20 donation. You get like 5 questions left, Mark, so I'll speed through these.
And the battery's going to die on the receiver.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Can you guys still hear us?
Yeah, no, it's still on. It's on the way out.
Kevin Chung for $5. Mark used to get real angry with your car dislike. What to do now without pissing off manufacturer too much to stop inviting you to the Olive Garden?
Yeah, it's going to be tough, man. Like, now that we're in with Ferrari, they're like, we've been at Olive Garden way too much. Like, most of our business meetings are there, but that makes other companies mad because there's other restaurants.
But he's asking, why can't you can't get angry anymore like you used to?
I can.
You just choose not to.
Well, I mean, there's certain things that really piss me off, and like there's less of blatant garbage, and like I think the EQS is about as animated as I'll get. Like that really just is trash.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that's type of stuff. But it's rare that there's anything that's so bad that you're like, what the hell is going on here? And if I feel like people are really getting ripped off, that triggers me more than anything.
Crackdog69, thank you for the $5. KG, have a 2005 330 ZHP. I'm ready to take a lashing for being a BMW nerd, but I'm glad I have it as a throwback to when daily drivers were also fun. Will fun dailies come back before ice dies, in your opinions?
For some brands, yeah. For others, no.
I think some of it's like the dying breath for certain of these brands. The Lanceren's a good daily driver. Basically, our whole daily driver comparison test video, the subcompacts, all those cars are kind of fun.
Well, N is going electric. Yeah. So they've already said that they're going electric. So yes, the Elantra N is the last. So every brand's going to kind of have their like, see you later before we move into something else. The bigger brands that can get away with it from regulation standpoint, they'll probably continue some of the stuff. But yeah, I mean, we're at the end of it unless something changes, like globally changes with regulations.
Matt Hayes just asked, first mod for a stock 2013 FRS under $1,500 other than exhaust, brake pads, and fluid.
Tires and alignment.
He already said tires. So then alignment capability, camber plates.
Yeah, stuff to get. If you can get more camber in the front of that car, like 2.5 degrees, it's going to make that car so much better.
A Scooby Roof for $5. What did you feel during Alicia Keys' song for the EQS?
I watched that so many times in editing, and I wanted to put in more because it was so horrible. I wanted to torture people with it. That's when you get to a level of marketing, and that's why I hate some of the EQS stuff. You get to a level of utter contempt and disregard and disconnect between the real world and marketing bullshit, and that's what that car was. It was like catering, having celebrities in it to market a car that made no connection to the real world is nauseating. And that Alicia Keys thing is like that she's pretty smart, that girl. She's talented in terms of music and all that stuff, and she says she's an activist. That makes no sense of like a brand integration for me. And that song, though, hopefully everybody listened to it.
This is the last question. I'm going to say thank you guys all for staying with us through all of this.
Yeah, thank you.
Hopefully this didn't put you to sleep. I apologize for running 16 minutes over, but a gentleman asked, what is the best connected rear-wheel drive driver's car for under $40,000? And I can't tell you. Sedan, too.
Oh, God. Does that even exist anymore? Well, it's got to be a bummer, right?
Could you get an E90 M3 for under 40 grand that isn't a piece of shit?
Probably.
If used,
it would be high mileage. It'd be like 90,000 miles.
Used, that would be that. But if it's new, you're SOL. There ain't one.
Yeah. So from a used perspective, yeah, that's it. It's like the Holden pile.
Which, yeah.
or whatever the Chevy,
Chevy
SS.
SS.
Yeah, that rear wheel drive. I know I'm probably missing something. I guess the Z you could count. Yeah, I mean you could say.
That's not 4-door.
Oh yeah, sorry, I keep forgetting. What other 4-door piles are there?
Oh, he said raw rear-wheel drive drivers car under 40,000.
Oh, okay.
And it's not a daily. I'm sorry, Peyton, I misread your question.
S2000.
S2000's under 40. That's great. Boss 302 Mustang.
Yeah,
that's very
some
raw.
of the hardcore Mustangs for sure. I mean, can you get an SS1 LE for under 40? Like you use
No,
them?
not anymore.
No.
Maybe you could, but probably
High
not.
mileage. I still say the E90
M3
would be a really good like barn find. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I think you get a right BMW mechanic to do all the maintenance on that. You can have a lot of fun with that car for used. You just need to do some work.
But with that, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with us for 3 hours and 19 minutes. And we will see you in a month or two when we do the next one.
Yeah, thanks everybody for sticking in here. And thanks for the people that have donated, that are on Patreon, that are keeping this going.
And if you have any burning questions, per usual, I say find us on Instagram.
Yeah, or hit us up on Patreon. We're going to be doing there's still an open post on Patreon for questions that we have to pre-record and then post on there. So if you have anything, put it on the Patreon stuff and we'll get through that. That's probably going to take us like 5 hours to get through that.
In a week or two or maybe 3, our Discord will go live for Patreon.
Yeah, and then we'll keep you up to date with projects that are coming up. We got a lot of really cool stuff and normal shit too. So we'll keep you in the loop. We're going to try to do more of these, as this is kind of our de facto podcast. And if there's guests, because now that I'm relocating, if there's guests that you guys want to try to see doing this podcast style or whatever we're doing in the future, not like right away, but if there's somebody you want to see us interact with, let us know. Like this chat will run for another like 5 minutes. So put somebody on there that you want us to invite or you would love to see us talk to, and we'll try to make that happen this year.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Oh, and thanks, Chin Face.
Oh yeah, thanks, Chris. Tell Chris, everybody, thanks for moderating this and keeping all the chat bots and all my female fans out of this.